It's just...
Oh, that's dumb. Who am I gonna vote on?
You're gonna vote and then let's start this thing?
Oh, this is a toughie.
Don't vote as GeekVerse podcast. Vote as yourself.
No, it's okay. My phone's been fucking me up lately, so...
I
You have no power?
I don't think anyone's
power.
gonna
I've never been my
Ironmonger.
GeekVerse podcast.
It'll be one person.
One person?
It'll
Yeah.
be me.
Probably
which
your
one's
ex.
That? Oh,
Because she seems to
oh,
vote
no.
against anything you put up.
Oh,
A parent.
no.
Wow. Are we live right now?
Kind of.
Fuck.
Alright.
I can't laugh.
Vote him Halloween.
Fuck the world!
Dude, what?
Are we ready to... I'm scared. Okay, let's do this.
What are we talking about?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 187th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I am the big bad booty daddy senior, Travis Snail.
I am the childish Kirkland Patzer.
I am the best pilot in the galaxy. Taylor Field.
Yeah, Taylor looks like he's walking up the gallows right now with this review. So.
I like how you're trying to build your confidence in, but your debate against me is really nothing. So.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's some pre-shade.
Get ready to bitch slap someone
So
tonight.
I am the
I'm scared to be
sportsman,
here.
Tyler Briggs.
and I'm the fancy fly boy, Dylan Musk.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not guessed by the shirts, if you've not guessed by our nicknames, we are here to review the second anthology in Star Wars. Yeah, well, Blue's lightsabers.
movie about the ocean.
Whoever the fuck, that's Rose's other sister.
Yeah.
We're here to review Solo, a Star Wars story. If you've not joined us for a review, we're going to start with non-spoilers and we'll get into spoilers. Some quick plugs out of the way soon, or not soon, they're happening right now.
Right
now. What is it? When is E3 is only 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
Yeah, so 2 weeks away, our coverage will be happening Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll be covering every conference, pretty much every conference. We're going to be doing watch-alongs. We're going to do podcasts right after. So if you're into that, please check it out. We had lots of fun last year, and we get in-depth, and it's just a good time. And I'm excited for E3, all of us are, and it's going to be...
It's the heart of the GeekVerse.
Yeah.
Where it all began.
Yeah, and you get some wacky casts when we're sitting in a room for like 8 hours. We've got some pizza and sugar, and we just keep talking about video games and fucking Skull and Bones and stuff like that. So, so yeah, E3 2 weeks away. Check that out. There's a sports title match. Check that out. No spoilers as of right now. There's an embargo, but you should go check that out. It's pretty good, and we'll be talking about that soon. And then I don't know when, but in June, this is an official thing me and Taylor can announce. We're gonna fight a lot in this episode, I feel, but we've been on a big journey. If you watch the Gauntlet, we've come back, we've formed a team, and we're announcing here that there was a documentary made in honor of the Wolf Order. It is Wolf Hard, Work Hard. It's gonna be a new series potentially.
Who's the director?
JJ.
JJ.
Yeah, he stepped in. Yeah, he
I thought he was busy with Star Wars, but no, he has
He's
time
not
for
filming
the
yet.
GV.
Not filming yet.
Right,
He just
right.
saw our stories. Like, I want to tell the story about how we got back together. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. But you're in for a ride. So check that out when it drops. I'm not sure when it will be, but that's why you want to subscribe to this channel. And the other reason you want to subscribe to this channel is for this review right now because it is gonna be spicy as the Kessel Run. So buckle up, baby. Who wants to start with Solo, a Star Wars story? Like I said,
I'll start
non-spoilers.
I'll start
Dylan Musk.
I'm fairly average on this movie. I ended up liking some things more than I was expecting. One, I actually liked what's his name?
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, sounds like a Street Fighter character.
I thought
Nice,
acting
yeah.
for the most part across this movie was pretty good between him and the female main character and Donald Glover. Like those three were all very strong, and I was surprised that I liked his performance. But it's kind of bogged down by I think his really bad writing for like a lot of the character. Particularly the first half an hour, I was like, oh man, what is this? And then it got better as it progressed. I think this movie has quite a few pacing issues. One, it like kind of stacks a whole bunch of action all within like, I don't know, it's like the whole middle of the movie it feels like. And then there's all the story points and like twists and stuff is all like jammed into one little section, and it was just kind of off-putting, and I was kind of out of the story at that point because they didn't really develop much of it, or they did very slowly. It's a different Star Wars movie. Like, it takes a while before they actually get a scene out in space, out in the stars, and I thought that was interesting. And like, there's, I don't really want to spoil, even though it's kind of near the start of the movie, but there's some scenes that are quite a bit different than like similar scenarios we've seen in other Star Wars movies. And I don't know. I think overall I probably like this movie more than Rogue One by a bit. It had a little more intrigue to it, but still I'm not really chomping to see it again anytime soon.
Chomping.
Yeah, I think some characters are kind of lame, but I did like the main cast for the most part, bar the writing issues. I don't know. This movie it doesn't have me like all that excited, you know. Like it was just kind of fizzled. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Fizzled.
So I'm not really all that let down because I didn't really have high expectations, but I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt like the acting was really top notch from what I was expecting. Like going into it, because you have that Harrison Ford image in your head of Han Solo, it was kind of hard to break that. Especially like seeing like the posters and all that stuff. But I was very like impressed, I should say, with the lead actor and even the supporting roles. Like you said, who was the second? The female.
Yeah.
Amelia Clark.
Kira.
Yeah. I don't know, her character. I feel like there's parts of the movie that I liked her, and then there's parts that I just didn't like her, and then I felt like near the end, I don't know. I feel like it all comes down to like the writing.
Yeah.
Like how you said though, but the acting wise was really, really good at parts.
Well, they leave you in the dark a lot for her character for like a lot of the movie, so it's hard to feel too attached.
Yeah, the whole movie there's just a big question mark on her.
Yeah.
But no, overall I agree with a lot what you said. I really like the characters, but the writing definitely was flawed at parts. I felt like it was super like corny and out of place.
There was some really cheesy stuff.
Yeah, but overall I'll say I was like going into it I had low expectations, but coming out of it I was fairly, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to say impressed, but I was above expectations for me. Yeah, I like you said, I think I liked it more than Rogue One. I've only seen Rogue One once, I think, so going off that memory.
It doesn't get better a second time. Can confirm.
That's good to hear that.
Is it?
That's good to hear.
I mean, I don't have to watch it now, but
This is true.
But yeah, no, I think I liked it more than Rogue One.
For me, it was, since we're comparing it to Rogue One, that's a tough one actually. I think it's about the same. Some things were better, but some things were not as good. I think one of the biggest things with this film is the pacing and the writing. Just kind of it was very non-stop in a way that just, it was lacking a lot of character development, I found, and it was just constantly jumping from action piece to action piece and trying to keep everything as exciting as possible, but that kind of just burns you out.
I thought there's
halfway
lots
through
of
the
character development. Han Solo is saying, I want to be a pilot over and over again.
All right.
Snarky Travis in
Yeah,
the
big snark. And then, so yeah, I think a lot of lacking character development portion there. Acting I thought was fine, if not above expectations. And I think, what's the main guy's name?
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich actually did a really good job of filling that slot of Han Solo for me. I think he kind of nailed kind of his posturing and his sort of charismatic part, and the writing that did work for him and that I thought was good. He pulled it off really well, and his look just it grew on me a lot faster than I expected it to. So, but like, I mean, even after just like 15 minutes, I was like, this is Han Solo. It is what it is. But I think
I get what he's saying.
He's not a fraud.
He's
not a fraud, you know.
He's not a fraud.
But I think visually it wasn't like, it didn't blow me away from, it's like Rogue One was much better visually, I thought. I think the writing was lacking in a lot of departments. A lot of really cheesy stuff, a lot of kind of fan servicey stuff that took away from the plot, and then one thing I want to say, Childish Gambino was great. He'd probably the standout for me as far as acting goes. I can't say I was a huge fan of the score.
There's some good moments.
They took that's why, like, and I don't know. We can spoil the score. I'm sorry. Like,
That's really important to a lot of people.
I think they actually. I agree with you that I don't know how much I liked it, but I like that they actually took some risks. Like, there's certain characters in this movie that have this like score that's like child singing and it's like operatic, very unlike anything that's been in Star Wars before. And I when I was watching that, it happens multiple times. Like, I don't know if I like this or I don't like it. but I almost like that they're taking a risk because I feel like that's the only thing in this movie they really take a risk on is the score. So, but I'm with you. I like some stuff. I don't know. For me, it stood out more than Rogue One because Rogue One to me was just like a nothing score. It was just like basic, like, oh, this is Star Wars inspired. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely has its pros, but then again, there are also some cons.
It's not the worst
So,
movie ever.
yeah, exactly. It's still enjoyable enough as a Star Wars film, and I'm not. If you're a Star Wars fan, I mean, you might as well go see it. I'm not going to say don't go see it. It's not that bad, but for me,
Selling it.
I'd say it's about the. It's about. I feel the same way about it as Rogue One, but there are different pros and different cons.
Uh-huh.
I'll go because I'll end it on a more of a positive for the non-spoiler people. Yeah, for me, like the pros I can say, definitely not as bad as any of the Lucas prequels, so that's always a good thing, you know, and I had another.
Yeah,
oh, it's not a garbage fire of a movie. It's not like, because they obviously lost their directors in the middle, and it's, to me, not something like Squad or Justice League where you're like, oh, this is like a complete mess. It's like, my problems with the movie aren't that there's times where it feels like, okay, maybe there was some different directors here or there, but it doesn't feel like this stitched like Frankenstein sort of movie. Like, it works as a movie. Acting is good, and I guess that's the thing I can start with Alden. I think he is a good actor. I don't think he has bad scenes, but that's where what Briggs brought up for me. Another reason, or the main reason I think why I didn't enjoy it was because I never clicked into, I felt like it was Han Solo for me. I was waiting for that, and there's moments, there's little signs of it or shades of it, and he, you know, might cock his head a certain way or say something in a tone, and like, oh, that feels like Han, but I never felt it was consistent, and I felt it was all over. We talked about this in the theater, but I do feel like could be some of the writing, so it's hard to tell. I think he did the best he could, but I never bought into it. I always thought this kind of felt like, and this sounds super offensive, but like, it felt like a school play version of Han Solo for me. Like, it feels like when you go, if you're at a theme park and there's like, Universal, they'll do like these live shows where it's like Waterworld or this side, like they play the movie and it's like they have these actors who are, you know, acting in Hollywood. It's like, that's, I don't feel like it's like he was that bad, but I feel like it was kind of a lesser version of that. And I also just don't know, if you look at Luke and you look at Leia, I feel like you could easily cast someone to play younger versions of them, where Harrison Ford is such a distinct guy, even with his voice, you know, like he sounds like this oak tree of a guy, and this, the charisma, like even
an oak tree.
Very oak
the way his voice is, it's so deep, yeah. And like even Harrison Ford on like talk shows, he's a very unique type of guy, right? Where like Hamill and Carrie Fisher are, but like there's something about Ford where it's just one of those guys where, that's the reason I worried about this, because I don't know if you could get to this. Even though this is 5-10 years, I just never felt like it was Han. And lots of the writing things, to me it was either, okay, with this movie I wanted to be, either we're going to have Han Solo, the piece of shit guy, and I'm not going to get any spoiler specifics, and him just on adventures, or the movie that shows, oh, why is he, you know, a piece of shit guy when we meet him in New Hope? This movie doesn't really do any of that. It's kind of like a mix of like, oh, he's kind of a piece of shit guy, but he's still a good guy, and like, there's not really a big journey, and like this to me, and that's the other thing, it does not match up. If this is the only Solo movie that we get, I don't see this guy as the guy who's in the Star Wars trilogy, you know, like that's the other problem, is the writing. He doesn't feel like that Solo, so that's one. Two, yeah, the rest of the acting's good. A big shout out to Paul Bettany. I really like Paul Bettany in this movie, so I'm excited to talk about him. And that's the thing with Alden, like Ewan and the prequels, I think Phantom Menace he's fine, but Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, you see him become that, and maybe Alden could do that. But with Lando, I felt that 100%. The second he's on screen, he feels like Billy D. Williams. It doesn't feel like he's doing an impression. It just feels like, oh, this is a younger version of that character.
Yeah.
Where with Han, I never got that. Amelia Clarke is good and all. I think her character is fine. I think a lot of the same thing with Woody Harrelson. There's these Star Wars movies. I think there's a problem where everything is executed really well. Acting's always good. It's shot at least good enough. The score is good. Like, there's nothing overly bad about this or Rogue One or even for some people Last Jedi. But I guess I'm kind of at the point where I'm starting to get worried about stars. And I wasn't a few months ago. But now it just feels like we're going to do these really safe movies that are just fine. And that's how I thought it was movie. It was just fine. But there's no moments I can take out that are, oh, I can't wait to watch that again. You know, there's nothing that really stands out. There's a few scenes here and there, and it's mostly just the Lando stuff. But there's nothing that is really gripping me to go watch this again. And there's nothing that's gripping me to see more of this world other than certain characters plucked from it. I don't need a Solo 2, and I think this movie's just super safe. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, I'm done with like Star Wars stories. Like, I don't want the Boba Fett. I don't want a Yoda. I want characters we don't know, and I want stuff that is completely new. Where this is just, it's the same old, same old. We know where it goes. I'm a big prequel hater, so I'm biased there. But yeah, for me it's just a fine movie. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's there. It's kind of forgettable, and that's what I don't like is what. Yeah.
Just tapping
Yeah,
right next to the mic.
That's what I
Old
don't.
strategy.
That's what I don't like is Star Wars films shouldn't be forgettable. For me, Rogue One's kind of forgettable. This is forgettable. So for me, with the new Star Wars films, I'm 50-50 right now. I like Force Awakens. I like Last Jedi, even though I get people's problems with it. So I feel like they're kind of wavering a bit, and I feel like I don't know. I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to get worried for what's to come in the future because I don't know if I want more spin-offs.
Keep
like
in
this.
mind with the Boba Fett one that it's being written by the writers from Logan.
I know, but like I feel like they have this
There could
sandbox,
be,
and it's like
yeah.
Ron Howard, he's a Academy Award winning director. Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson made Looper, you know, like Garrett Edwards made a good Godzilla movie. Like I feel like, you know, with Marvel there's a certain like, oh, you have a sandbox, but there's still some room to grow in it. Where this, it just feels it's such a template now, and it's just like this is a Star Wars movie you have to make, and these are the beats you have to do, and this is what you have to do, and no risks, can't get too dark, can't do this, and it's like, it feels similar to Rogue One. I like it better than Rogue One because I think there's better character moments, but I don't know. It's just now I'm officially not excited for any like anthology films right
That's
now.
fair.
I need the next one to be great. Like I don't want this like, yeah, it's fine. Like I was sometimes bored, you know, and Solo's my favorite Star Wars character all the time. I shouldn't be bored during his movie, so I'll be able to explain a lot more in spoilers.
Looking back, I am actually, now that this is canon, I am a little disappointed that this is like Star Wars canon.
Well, that's the problem with these movies, that like once they're out there now, it's not like the books where it's like, oh, they're gone. Like this movie, this is Solo's story, you know.
You don't care
This
about
is
canon,
like
though.
this is how he got his name. Oh, I can't wait to get into spoilers, you know. Like there's just certain stuff where it's like, oh, like I don't know.
I would say for Rogue One at least, like I didn't mind that it's canon. Like I can live with that, but I guess that's because there's no like characters there that I already have like a kind of vision of
And
the
they're all
story.
dead.
And now with this, it's just kind of like, man,
Yeah.
this is a thing now.
We will get back to canon in the spoilers, because they played it a bit, but that's a little annoying thing too. But well, Taylor, what do you think about this? Because I predicted you were gonna fucking love this movie. You know much like, oh, I don't know, Solo, blah blah blah. But
You know, when they announced the movie a long time ago, I wasn't a fan. I thought this was a waste of time. That honestly, there are other characters that they could have focused on. And as it progressed, and finally we got a trailer, and I got to see more and get to kind of figure out more what was going on, you know, I got a little bit more interested in it. And finally, the day of when I was going to the theater, I thought, you know, I'm going to get immersed into this universe again. I'm 100% okay with this. And granted, I won't say I absolutely loved it, but it was really, really good. It's not in my top 3. I would put it in.
God.
I did think it was gonna be in your top 3.
No, I would easily put it in my top 5, but
It's 4. It's
Yeah,
4.
yeah, no.
So not top 3.
no.
To preference is the reason I shut this out, because we did not see it all together at the same time, and Taylor messaged us and said he was shaking after a while. I know why, but still, I was like, oh no, here's the Rogue One, which
We'll get to that in
Yeah.
spoilers. But no, I think that this movie, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. It's staggered. It was slow. I think there was a lot of issues with the writing. I think there were moments where I thought, okay, let's hurry up and get this going now. Like, this moment of this scene is just prolonged too much. This movie is 2.5 hours. It really didn't need to be. They could
I
have,
agree with that 100%.
it felt like
They
2.5
could've-
Yeah, that
hours.
was.
they honestly could have cut it back in so many points.
Yeah.
And you know, I like to be in this universe for as long as possible, but I think it would have done justice for the film. And that being said, so I would have had no problems whatsoever if they cut like a good 25 minutes off this film, which they easily could have done, and it would have lost like nothing with the story whatsoever.
Yeah.
That being said, again, so I find there were so many moments throughout the movie I couldn't help but smile. You know, right off the bat, I totally dropped the fact that, okay, this isn't Harrison Ford. This is, you know, Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Aaron.
Yeah.
Alex Kensington. I want to say Alex Kensington. That's his brother, Aldrich Kensington.
But no, I
The
completely
Kensingtons. We're gonna make a show on.
I completely felt like, okay, I didn't see anyone else except Han Solo in those moments. I felt totally captivated by his performance. And from that point on, you know, it just felt like this story, yes, it had its moments where it was a bit of a lull, but I was pulled in, and I really enjoyed what I was seeing visually, score-wise. I just bought the soundtrack this morning, and I've listened to it, and it is actually it's much better than I thought it was when I listened to it in the movie.
They did use a lot of OG stuff too.
They did, and that obviously there are certain tunes from the OG, a lot of it from Empire Strikes Back, that really like resonates with me, and I love it. And then using in this, obviously it gets an extra point for me.
Castle Run specifically for me.
Yeah.
And everyone's Castle Run, fuck off. It's a Han Solo movie. You know what's gonna be there.
But no, I think that it was much better than I anticipated, and it really did a great job pulling me into the Star Wars universe. I am seeing it again.
Oh, of course.
Multiple times, so.
Well, I want to ask this question. Try and do your best non-spoiler. So you said you felt like you liked it a lot more than us, at least, because you felt like there's a lot of stuff in the canon, which you and me debate a lot, that made that experience better for you. You want to stress that in a non-spoiler way, because I don't stress the negatives in a non-spoiler way.
I think that it was really hard, and I really tried to take my mind out of it, the mindset of knowing all this extra stuff from canon, and trying to look at it from a point of view of someone I'm pretty sure like 90% of the people in the theater didn't understand fully a lot of the things that were going on. And I tried to put myself into that mindset and think, okay, was it still an enjoyable movie not being able to fully understand all these extra things that they slid in there? And, I only could go to a certain point where I thought it was, but then a lot of people would be very lost and probably wouldn't understand it. And then I realized then is this movie just simply bad in that sense, or was it made with the mindset of being more true to the more hardcore Star Wars fans out there that could understand these things as an anthology film?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I had to realize the difference between an episodic Star Wars movie and then the anthology films, and what's more directed for which kind of audience. And that being said, then I realized, okay, yes, there is a lower percentage of people in the theater that won't get this, but then like myself, I didn't think there was all the Easter eggs that I looked at afterwards, and I understood all of them. There was nothing that didn't make sense to me, and there was so much backstory going on that I thought, oh, okay, there's that. It all makes sense. But I mean, we'll get into spoilers, so I'm excited to talk about
that's a good point. I like the way you said that, Taylor.
And I don't even think that hampered the story for me, like, unless you bring out something specific, and I was like, oh, okay, then. But I think the Easter eggs are fine and everything like that. My worry with that is just almost like what we've talked about with the Marvel, Netflix shows, and the movies, where part of the reason that they don't bring them over, because, like, well, then you got to watch all these TV shows, and that's where I just don't want to get into the territory of there's this Easter eggs are fine, but I don't want big scenes where it's like, well, if you read this book, because everyone said that about Rogue One, where it's like with Krennic and Galen with their relationship, like, oh, in the book it's so much more fleshed out, and that's what I worry, because I shouldn't want. Star Wars started as movies. I don't want these movies to get into this territory where you have to read the book, see the animated show to really feel like this. And there's one big thing also we'll talk about that has a lot to do with canon, but I want them to stick to the Easter egg like reality, but I do worry if they get in this situation where they're alluding too much to a book, and then it's like, well, I don't want this to be a good movie if I've read the book or if I've seen the show. I want this to be a good movie by itself, and I don't think that's the case in this one. I think Rogue One had a little bit of that, but that's the only thing I push back on, is I worry of, because they are in a non-spoiler way starting to integrate canon, but it could be really risky, because there's a lot of Star Wars canon. There's comics, there's games, there's this and that, where like the MCU with Infinity War, you just have to watch those movies, right? And then with that, you can say, oh, if you don't understand, it's because you didn't see this movie, It gives you the tools, where I guess it gives you the tools if I go read this book, but I don't want to read this book.
I don't know. I mean, it's a good point you mentioned that they're doing more of this Easter egg stuff in the anthology movies as opposed to the main trilogies and stuff, and I think that's what more people are going to go see anyway. That's what they're more interested in. Obviously, they still need to make these movies like interesting and have good enough characters for the moviegoers, but I think that is a good point. I don't know. I am curious to see how they go forward with that, if they just keep that to them. Like, I wonder if they are really like conscious of that as they're making it.
Well, I'll save that question when we get into spoilers. Do we have anything non-spoilers we want to bring up?
I'm trying to think if I would, because we sometimes would I recommend seeing this in theaters? I'm not really sure exactly. I think if you're a big Star Wars fan, obviously you can go see it. You'll probably like it enough, hopefully. But I don't know, to a more casual, someone who just like goes to see the Star Wars movies every here and there. I don't know. I don't think I'd recommend it.
If you knew the quality beforehand, I feel like if you're not on this podcast, would all catch it when it comes to Netflix.
100%, yeah.
I'd say Netflix.
I probably Rogue One and this, like, I probably would have skipped if it weren't for the podcast.
Yeah.
That's changed the whole scope of my life. But
I really hate because
And
a
my
lot of things seeing like online, it just seems like there's so much like, oh, Last Jedi sucked, why am I gonna go see this? Like, and I feel like that's something you have to take out of the equation completely, because there's so many different factors involved with this.
I agree and disagree because it's the same company, right? It's the same thing. When Marvel's killing it, people all go see Marvel. It's the same thing.
But it's not the same because there isn't one guy who's kind of like
there's one
a
woman
mastermind who's planning all these movies.
Well,
yeah, but isn't it like a Dark World comes from the same place as Infinity War kind of aspect?
Well, okay, so that's tough to talk about because the first the first phase of MCU had a couple hands in the pot, and then eventually they're like, Feige, you're just doing the movies, Ike Perlmutter, you're doing TV, and now you've seen like this clear vision, like we talked about the Marvel Retro, right? Kathleen Kennedy runs Lucasfilm. She is the runner of it, but I think the problem is if you look at Force Awakens, you look at Last Jedi, they don't set out to be like, we're going to get from point A to point B. And that's why I worry about this movie with the canon. They introduce something. It's like, I don't think they introduce that. It's like, this is a new story point. I think they're like, hey, we get the people really excited about the scene, and then whatever, we'll just ignore it. And like that's saying there is a person running this, and that's why now, because directors, they have their stamp on these movies, but they're made in a production company like this, like DC. Like that's the reason why most of DC movies were a mess, because they're coming from like these same people, and that's the I can understand with Last Jedi though, because it is the same company do it, it's the same producers, and it's gonna be similar people. I can understand not wanting to see it because you should be able to see it. I don't think they should be saying, oh, it sucks or this or that. Like they should wait to see the movie. But if they don't want to see it, it's the same way as, I don't know, for any of us, if we weren't doing this podcast, if we didn't like the last DC movie or Marvel movie, we wouldn't go see it, right? You know, it's like, and that's what people are doing. I think Star Wars fans are starting to become the new DC fans because DC's dying. So Star Wars is like, it's very bitchy right now, but I don't know, that's going to happen. And I for a while I was in the middle, now I'm kind of getting on the bandwagon. I'm like, I'm never going to be that guy in the comments, like, fuck Kathleen Kennedy, fuck Disney, but like, I'm in that thing where I'm starting to worry, because like, what I wanted to say in the group chat is like, I feel like, so, Force Awakens was like, if I'm comparing this to DC, it was like Dark Knight Rises, don't take that comparison, but like, very successful movie, reviews well, everything like that. Then the next DC movie is Man of Steel, and that would be Rogue One, where it's like, for me, I was like, I understand why people love it or like it, was it for me, mixed reaction. And then after that was BVS, which was Last Jedi. It's like this movie that like very divided. People love it, hate it, blah blah blah. And Han Solo's nowhere near Suicide Squad, but like Han Solo's next in that Suicide Squad. And to me, I remember after Suicide Squad, it was like, man, Wonder Woman better be good. And that's what I feel like about Episode 9. I think fans are like that, where it's like, if they didn't like Last Jedi and they didn't like this, I can see fans starting to lose faith, because I'm starting to lose faith. Like, I forgot that Solo was tomorrow. Like, on the day we're going to see it, I forgot that was happening. And yes, because JJ's directing 9, and I talked about this chat, I'm excited for 9, but after that, that's where I'm like, even if it's Obi-Wan, I'm very skeptical, because yeah, it's new writers, new director, but it's tough when it's the same restaurant putting this stuff out, right? Because at the end of the day, they can make this great dish and they could throw it and say, yeah, but do it like this, you know? And I don't know, Han Solo, it's not like Han Solo seems like people are loving it, and then people are like, I'm still going to boycott it. It seems pretty mixed. Like, you were posting your comments that you've been screenshotting on Facebook. Yeah, like, people are pretty mixed about it, and I think they were right, because this movie is like, it's a mixed movie. Like, it's not, I don't know, it's...
I'm curious, I mean, I think we're approaching spoiler territory soon, and I'm curious to hear what these Easter eggs are. I don't really feel like I missed anything particular. I just felt like there was a big lack of like emotional investment in some of these characters and storylines. Yeah. So I don't know.
Which sucks, because that was some of our complaints with Rogue One, right? Was that we didn't really invest in the characters.
It's hard for me to put too much weight on that though, because I think the bigger problems in this movie aren't that I lacked investment in some characters. It's just like pacing and writing, as we talked about earlier. So
should we get into it?
Let's get into spoilers.
Yeah. Okay, where do we want to start with this? So, do you want to start with the big elephant in the room because you have a big smile while you're shaking?
I feel like it would be bad to just jump to it, but I feel like it's a huge talking point.
Our reviews have kind of been messy lately. Let's just go with it.
And let's just go to, because it ties in our conversation about canon and whatnot. So obviously, this is your last chance. If you've not seen the movie, come back. We'll still be here because I'm about to drop a huge spoiler. Superman dies. No.
Han Solo lives in this movie. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Even though they really laid on thick, you don't want to die alone, Han. You don't want to die alone. Yeah, we get it. He dies with his son. So Darth Maul, I'll let you start, because I'm clearly that's the reason you were shaking after you saw the movie, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was the moment I saw his legs. By the way,
Me too. I knew it. So you saw the legs, like, oh shit, this is
very cool fact: the actor Ray Park who played Darth Maul in Phantom Menace reprised his role as Darth Maul, and Sam Witwer who voices Darth Maul voiced him in the movie. So it was a cool collaboration of like both Darth Mauls.
voice him be specific in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, Clone Wars.
Because that's the thing with these non-canon people, be like, where they voice them, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know actually who voiced him in the OG movie, though, because Ray Park also didn't voice him.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Ray Park, he played Toad in X-Men, he played the Headless Horseman, he was like a Hollywood stunt guy, and he got all these big roles in the 2000s, he was Darth Maul. And, yeah, good for Sam Witwer, because he's been doing this for a while, and they've always been like, yeah, we're going to put him in a movie one day, and yeah, it's one scene, but good for him.
Yeah.
Stepping stone, perhaps.
Yeah, mate. Well, that's what I want to talk. Go.
Yeah, no, I after Rogue One and the trend that they've been doing with Star Wars movies, I just was waiting the whole time, knowing that they were gonna drop something very big.
That's the problem.
And that being said, like, was it predictable? Yes. I didn't like that it was so predictable. At the same time, like, I was afraid maybe if they didn't, I would have been very disappointed and that would have sucked. But at the same time, I had a strong feeling something was coming, and I was so happy that it delivered. There were so many times where I was expecting, Boba Fett to waltz out or something like that, or something else happened. But that moment, I had no expectation that it was Darth Maul, which made me feel very upset because I feel like I should have anticipated that because of everything crime-related and these organizations. It is covered so, I would say, deeply in the animated series, the Clone Wars and Rebels.
But that's why I don't think you should expect it, because this is the first touching upon in these new movies of canon. That's always been my argument, is like in these new movies they talk about, oh, these books are important, these are important, but they never talk about them. Maul being alive is like a big thing now, because it's like, yeah, those animated shows that happen, blah, blah, like that is in this world. Because if people aren't in this podcast and listen to it, if it's some schmo Joe, if they watch, they're gonna be like, why the fuck is Darth Maul alive? Like last time I saw him, he got caught in half, and he like fell down like an elevator shaft, So like this is fully them leaning into the canon thing. My two problems is you saying that like you're expecting a surprise, which I think the movie should be. I know you're not saying this, but for me it should be good enough not to like. For me to get that surprise, because it felt exactly like Vader, where it's like, this movie's fine, but they tricked me with the Vader scene at the end, because like, oh, I love that scene, it was so great, and I left Rogue One being so happy. And I felt like that during the Darth Maul scene, but I'm like, no, they're trying to trick me again. It's like they have this mediocre, alright movie, and then they leave something big, and this is my problem. Is this Darth Maul thing going to lead to anything, or is it just, hey, go watch Clone Wars and Rebels?
I don't think it could. No. I think it will lead to something
in the movies.
There's no mention of Crimson Dawn, period, in the TV series at all. There is no mention, and plus, this is 7 years before Rebels,
and
which covers.
They didn't know
so
where he
time.
was. Yeah.
Well, they said he's on Dathomir at this point.
Yeah, but like in the canon, there's a clear sign of like the last time I saw was in the comics, and then he was in Rebels, and there's like a 10-year gap of like nothing with Maul, right? So they can fill it in. My thing is, because you're gonna take this as a victory for your canon thing. I want them to do canon, but I don't want them to be like, hey, get a big applause from everybody, Darth Maul, and then we never see him again in a movie, Because that's my thing. It's like, I will retract the statement if they're like, hey, we're doing Solo 2, and Darth Maul's the main villain, even though that causes a whole bunch of other problems, because Solo doesn't believe in the Force, but he's gonna see some fucking guy Force choking people and running around. So prequel again, but that's the thing, like, I don't know. I view it as they're throwing it as a fun Easter egg, and then they're not gonna do anything with Maul, and it's like, well, that's their canon exists, but they're not doing anything with it. That's like if Thanos turned around that chair in Avengers and we never saw him again.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's what I'm worried about. Like, who's Thanos? Oh, he's just somebody.
I don't want to drift too far from the topic, but I feel like with the way they establish it and set up that they're easily leading to another anthology film that isn't Han Solo related, but passing the torch in that sense, maybe to a Lando
but
or
with
something
those
like
characters
that.
in there?
Keeping those characters in the background, the back burner, but not calling it Solo 2 or anything like that, but calling it another movie. Maul.
I'd be Solo okay spin-off Star Wars story.
Just,
Granted, Lando v. Maul.
I totally know that the whole Darth Maul thing at the end was totally just like people like me. Most of the people in the theater, I guarantee they didn't know what was going on. As soon as I saw the legs, I went like this. I couldn't take my hand off my mouth.
Grievous, no.
It was pretty dead quiet in our theater.
Like no one, yeah.
And that's just it. People don't understand. Like they're wondering, okay, well, who is this guy? First of all, or if they recognize him, how did this guy come back to life? Again, leading up to the point where he turns on his lightsaber, he didn't have to do that.
No, he didn't. I was gonna beat you over the head like this is Darth Maul.
Hey, remember we watched watching Star Wars, kids.
It was purely just to make you
It was
change your
stupid.
pants, and I loved it. Okay,
Make you what?
change your pants, and
It was so stupid.
I totally just sucked into it and I loved it. I was just absorbing every fiber of this hologram, thinking this is great.
Well, and this is my last thing, and then I'll throw it to these three because they haven't talked about it. My last thing is, so there's a character that comes in Infinity War, and it's a big character, and it's someone that, like, someone I imagine in the theater be like, who's that character? But then you'd be like, oh, remember that movie, or you go back and watch that movie. With Maul, my problem is like, oh yeah, there's no movies, you gotta go watch this 5-season show, and then you'll know about what happened with Darth Maul. And that's, I don't know if that's how I wanted them to start introducing canon. I wanted them to maybe announce it ahead of time. Obviously this was a surprise, so they couldn't do that. But I want them to integrate it in a story-wise, not as an Easter egg, because this Easter egg, I guess, like you said, it is for the really hardcore fans, I guess. But as myself as a hardcore fan, I still feel let down because I don't know where this is leading, and it's, I guess, what the future is.
That's exactly how I feel about it. Like, I like Darth Maul as much as the next person. He's badass. He has the unique lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
He's cool and all. But really, it has two problems. One, if it doesn't go to anything, and it's just like, hey, you're watching Star Wars, then that's kind of lame for me. And also, I think it kind of throws the Kira character out a little bit, because it's like this whole time she's had this secret motivation or backstory, and then they kind of just mention it and then they gloss over it. And yes, maybe they'll go into it in a future movie. You're saying they're bringing these other side characters around, and I would like to see that. But as it stands right now, it doesn't have like any real impact for me. And I kind of like, I like Darth Maul, but I can't say I liked him in this movie because they just tickled the idea of using Darth Maul again.
Yeah.
I feel like you touched upon Thanos. I feel like you could relate it to that in a very large way. In the sense like, oh yeah, he just turns around in his chair and that's it. And most people that go see these movies don't know who he is or what. So I feel like that's the sense here. We get that little snippet of Darth Maul here, and we don't see him for a few films. And then, he comes up in maybe another little glimpse, and then comes up in another big movie later
That's
on.
the worry, though, is Thanos was the end credit scene, right? So those are already the hardcore people, and that's fine if Darth Maul does become something. But Darth Maul in the canon, that's my problem. I argue that they shouldn't have done this in Rebels. We know that he fucking dies. Obi-Wan kills him in the desert. And it's like, now they're like, oh, we're going to use Darth Maul. It's this prequel thing again. I'm like, well, where is this story going to go with Darth Maul? They've already ended it in another media, and that's why I feel like it's not going to go anywhere. I think they've just done it to be like this. I felt like they were like, this movie needs a Vader moment that fans are gonna lose their shit over. Let's use Maul because everyone loves Maul.
Don't forget.
Yeah, and the like red light, and it's like, and that's where it's like, it was cool to see him, but then I had this realization. Like I said, I'll take it all back, but it's a problem that I'll get to. Also, with this movie, like Dylan brought with the stuff with Kira, this movie like is a solo film, not like his like solo, but like it ends in like a way that doesn't. It feels like they're clearly trying to set up for a sequel. Like it does not feel like a standalone movie. There's so many loose ends, and it's like. I didn't like that either because I guess maybe we'll get a Solo 2 maybe just because I wasn't loving this movie, but I felt like these standalone movies should be standalone, and if they like it, let's go do another story, but we're already doing, like, it felt like laying the breadcrumbs for a movie that I thought would have a clear ending, where Han is still, he does not feel like Han in New Hope at all, other than, okay, he shot a guy first, cool, I get your joke.
I think I have to disagree with your point. I like the Thanos thing because Thanos spin around, whatever, that doesn't hurt anything else in the movie. But in this movie, it like damages a character who had probably the second most screen time in the entire movie, right? She has
Third, Chewie.
I always forget about Chewie. I'm just kind of bored of Chewie, but
whoa!
Hey, I've said it before. It's not controversial. But like I don't know. I really wanted to like her character, but it's hard to feel too invested now because I don't know. They just like started an idea and like didn't really go through with it. Like I don't know. I think it's a problem because she was already mysterious enough, and now they like are completely pushing it aside. I don't know. I have many problems with that character, even though I really wanted to like her.
Is that because you know, like, oh, she's related to Darth Maul in some organization in that sense, or just because we don't know enough about like what she's still a mystery with the Crimson Dawn?
Yeah, I mean obviously it's hard for me to say because it was pretty clear that their goal with that character was to make her mysterious. That's why, they push her story all the way to the last 15 minutes of the movie.
You still never know what she's doing.
Yeah, and I just don't think that was a good idea, really. And I think the Darth Maul thing just has so much potential to be like an amazing story. Why not make Darth Maul like more in this movie or something? I don't know. I guess maybe that would have some problems with the Han Solo character because it
Oh,
would
yeah,
affect
'cause
something
he-
in the original
Well,
trilogy.
because he
I don't
doesn't
know.
believe in the Force when they meet. That's the big thing, right? So that's the worry of like. So okay, so let's say we play this scenario. There's a Solo too, and Darth Maul is the main villain. Like he can't interact with Solo at all because that makes no sense. Like that's the prequel problem for me too. Is like Darth. It's cool in the moment, but almost introduced Darth Maul like has these like has a lot of baggage. You know, like it's. Yeah, I don't. How did Tyler and Kirkland? Because you guys haven't spoken about the Darth Maul moment.
It was bad.
It was bad. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I think there are a lot better things they could have done with it. I agree with what you guys said and how it adds a lot of negative impact to Kira's story and how that kind of resolves. And it takes away from kind of an ending that she could have had that could have been more clearly defined, and then
Less
it just kind of
cliffhanger.
and then it just kind of she's kind of having her ending, and it's like, oh, like what's she gonna do? Is she now like the head honcho of that faction in Crimson Dawn? Is she gonna take over and take Drayden Voss's place? And then it goes to Darth Maul, and then now he's also this big part, and he kind of takes away from her mystery being resolved in a way, and then it's like they're working together, but now like how's that going to work? What's that dynamic? And if you want to continue on that story, which they clearly left very open purposefully.
Well, the thing is, they don't need to kill her character off at the end of this movie, but it asks questions. Like obviously they still know each other. I imagine they see each other again, before we see Han Solo next, but we have no idea what that is or how it takes place.
And I think also like her, obviously Han Solo's journey and her journey throughout this movie, ideally it develops Han Solo's character in a way that kind of makes him more Han from the New Hope Han, and it kind of affects who he is and how he gets there. But their stories just seem so different, and they didn't really resolve together. They just kind of were together for a bit, then they went on different paths without having a lasting impact, which was this isn't really related to Maul, I guess, but more to Kira. But and also just I think the reveal itself wasn't that great. It was way too drawn out and way too like bad, like forced down your throat, kind of. This is Maul, you know.
I think the lightsaber. I think if he was fine with the taking the hood off and talking, that would have been. I think the lightsaber.
I think even the talking was a little bit much. I think it would have been just cool if it just showed his face and then.
I think you gotta have.
But then people don't understand exactly. With him talking, it helps create a line of what is Kira in relation to Darth Maul? What is their relationship?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna think Darth Maul, Sith apprentice. Does she have the Force? What is going on here?
God.
It opens up a pot of just things that you don't need to have answered. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So if he talks and just you can tell that obviously he is the boss of this crime syndicate. It lays down a basic line for regular moviegoers to understand. She is just a head honcho of this corporation.
Yeah, see, I'll feel with Kirkland because I'm not on your guys' side. I have different problems with the Maul thing, but I don't mind that it's revealed that he's the head honcho because they do multiple films. They do multiple times, they allude to someone else is running Dawn, right?
Yeah.
And someone you don't want to try forward with. And even with what's Paul Bettany's character's name?
Dryden Voss.
Voss. I'm gonna call him Voss. That's much easier. They even say whoever he's working for is much worse than him. So I didn't mind that. I guess it's just me that for me it's almost like a wait and see, because if this is them experimenting with the Marvel, hey, we're gonna start making plans, I guess I'm for that. It's just because this is the first one. It feels very sudden. It feels very out of place because we've never gone that in Star Wars other than the episodes. But even the episodes, even at Last Jedi, that movie ends pretty solid. There's some stuff, obviously Kylo still is that, but it's there's not too many cliffhangers. There's not wait and see next time. Even Empire, it still ends with the heroes lost this round. Where this ends very cliffhangery. And Kirkland, how do you feel about all this Darth Maul controversy?
It was weird because when I first saw Darth Maul, I was very surprised, or I felt sorry, let me rephrase that. Thinking about the reveal of Darth Maul, I feel like I should have just been blown away and holy shit, this is an awesome, one of my favorite Star Wars lore characters.
Oh yeah.
Coming back, this should be awesome. But I was more just confused on why the fuck he was there.
Yeah.
I was so confused about that, and I felt like a lot of people in the theater were confused too, not excited like they should have been, which is probably what the movie makers wanted the fans to think.
Yeah. I was definitely I guess he's not dead.
Yeah, it was just like that, it wasn't a big firework going off. It was just oh, okay. And then I just had no idea where the movie was ending, and like how you
It was a weird ending.
yeah, like how you stated, where it's like going into this, I was very much expecting it to be like how Rogue One ended, how it was just a clear-cut movie, like it's not leading into another one. So I was
It literally led into
I know what he means though.
You
Right?
know
Like,
what I mean.
those
You know
character
what I
stories are done,
Yeah.
and like they hand it
Like
off
the
literally to
anthology
Leia.
films.
They're about
yeah.
as done as you can get.
it's
Yeah.
a solo film.
Yeah.
But so like the whole cliffhanger thing, I wasn't a fan of because I'm not looking forward to the next Star Wars movie. I'm not saying it's coming up before Episode 9 or all these things, but
Like,
I'm not.
you mean like a Star Wars story movie or just Star Wars?
A
in
Star Wars
general?
story movie.
Okay.
I don't want it to be
I don't
another
want it.
solo movie, right?
Yeah.
And like I feel like they're kind of leading this into another solo movie. I'm not saying it's gonna come out in the near future, but it's gonna have to come out because there's so many question marks.
I don't know
at
if
the
it's
end
gonna
of-
have to come out. I don't know.
There's so many question marks at the end of this
No
movie.
answer
Though.
in the book.
Like who's the
Yeah.
Crimson Dawn? Why is Darth Maul there? And then like
How
I
did he
don't
get to be
exactly.
that?
Well, and that's the thing I also bring up for Taylor because you know Darth Maul got into like he almost became like a gangster in Star Wars and he got into crime syndicates and all this. Where if you are just watching the movies, he was Emperor Palpatine's like apprentice, right? So it's
Yeah.
like how did he? Why is he? Like it feels really below him to be running this crime organization. The shows flesh that out and they show his journey, but that's the thing where I think if he appears in like an Obi-Wan or something just trying to track Obi-Wan down, it's like right away you go, oh, this makes sense because this guy chopped him in fucking half. Like where this in this movie where I think Maul being back is cool, but it's I think for the non-hardcore canon fans, it's the placing of him is kind of strange. And I guess maybe it's just because I never expected that character to be in the solo movie, and
Yeah.
that's the thing where I'll oppose you, Curtin, because you said I'm in the same camp. I don't really want a solo 2. But if Darth Maul is the only way you can get Solo 2, do you want Solo 2? Because that's my worry as well. It's like, I want more Darth Maul, but I don't want Solo 2, so is it just like, he's exclusive here, and if we don't get Solo 2, then yeah, like Dylan said, it's in a comic or a book
Well,
somewhere, and it's like, I don't want that.
I don't
Like,
think it would have to be exclusive to the solo.
I'm
If
saying,
that's
what if it is?
Then I think that's a huge mistake. Honestly, I feel like they could honestly just make a Maul movie, and that would be more interesting
Maul.
to me because I feel like that's such a, I don't know.
I
don't know.
feel
Maybe that's their plan, and that's why they
Yeah.
throw him into this movie to get people talking.
You know what I
about
could see though is if they with the Boba Fett thing,
I was gonna
that
say.
would be an introduction to the
I guess
crime
so.
world,
I
and
guess
then
so,
because
yeah.
he's in a crime syndicate, they could have some relation there doing crimes and stuff.
Yeah.
I know what I want?
So it
I
could
want,
work without a solo.
I want a movie with completely original characters like Rogue One that end up meeting Maul and are in deal
That
with
would be
this
yeah.
crime
Yeah,
syndicate
that'd
thing.
be-
Because I liked Rogue One, the idea of, oh, these people we have no idea about. We knew they were going to die, but we have no idea about, but they just didn't end up being good characters for me, so that kind of sucked. But I like that idea, and that's the thing with, I really want Maul to come back, but I just don't even know how he, I don't know how he
fits in.
functions in this, it just does the ending, I guess, and that's like a big con for me. It's just, I felt so just setting up for stuff, and obviously I'm a big Marvel fan, so maybe I'm a hypocrite, but it's just like, it felt too much. It felt so much of like, it felt like an episode of a TV show more than,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
and Star Wars
see that.
movies hasn't felt like that, where Marvel always does. It feels like a big TV show, but
I really wish that, like, your guys' opinions and thoughts on it is you guys
Completely
make
wrong.
yeah.
completely wrong. No, you guys make 100%. It's logical. It makes sense. I really would like love to have heard your opinions if you guys have actually watched the show with Maul's arc, and then
Now I
after seeing
have
this
to.
movie.
Now they fucking
Now
make
I
me
want
have
to.
to. Yeah. But I'm not gonna watch all Clone Wars. I'm just gonna
No,
go
just
get
the arcs,
I'm
and
just gonna
that's
get them
fine.
all episodes.
I'm really
I
curious
have no
to
interest in doing that.
retroactively see if this actually turns into anything.
Well, that's the thing. How does this, like, even for me liking this, it's similar to something in Deadpool 2. Once I know in a few weeks or months, and there's like, hey, we did this because we have plans for Mauls in the movie. I will look back on this a bit more. Okay, it was a bit clunky, but that's them trying to do the Thanos thing, right? It's like, okay, you took a swing. It wasn't the hardest hit, but like you got the first base. Like, cool. Like, I'm ready for this. But that's my worry. Is like, and Taylor, same thing for you. Like, because you and I debate this all the time with canon. How could you defend it if are you fine with this just being an Easter egg if that's all it is? If it's just, oh, that's a cool Darth Maul and then we never see him in a movie again?
I think,
Yes, I love it. No.
you know, depending on, I'm not gonna say like some. Well, actually, never mind. Some characters obviously are way better than others in so many aspects. Saw Gerrera is a mediocre
Don't
character.
throw Lando. Come on.
No, I'm not even gonna touch on Lando. Saw Gerrera is a mediocre character who's taken from the cartoon and brought onto the big screen. They killed him off. That's fine. Now they obviously already killed off Darth Maul obviously in the Rebels TV series. So
That's not obvious.
Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
he's dead. He's dead.
It's
Because they choose to do it in a
Everybody
fucking
dies
animated
eventually.
show.
it's hard for me
One
to
life for a
think.
million.
Like, I would assume that they do have plans for him within that 7-year timeline. That's a huge amount of time. We don't really know what he got up to. Obviously, like, no
Drugs.
one who even watches the cartoons, literally, he's in the drug industry, so.
Fair enough.
Death sticks.
Did he get high on his own supply?
Maybe.
He was looking pretty bad too. I think this
Oh,
is very part
he's-
age, but like
honestly-
I liked his age.
I feel like he
yeah.
had more horns.
Sick.
He's gone through, like,
There's some more
and
horns.
the amount
more
of
evil.
bullshit he's
It's like
gone
in
through is
Fable.
insane. But I feel like, even people who watch the animated series, they don't know what Crimson Dawn is. So that means
was
they're
that in the
tapping-
animated series?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
This is the first time they mentioned it.
Crimson Dawn's like the most generic
It is.
crime
Yeah.
organization.
In
It's
the,
probably the title of the next Fallout faction too. Like
Oh
when
my
you
God.
gotta pick.
Like, the only thing they touch upon in the animated series is that, he controlled, like, Death Watch, he controlled the Pikes, who are
See,
in
these
the
are the problems.
movie.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is, and I'm even a
I
big
know.
Star Wars fan, and that's.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say that, Travis.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Star Wars movie fan, and that's the thing where I guess we'll wind on the can conversation soon. I feel like with Marvel, they do a good job of explaining those things, and they don't go like, "Hey, you have to go read Infinity Gauntlet to get Infinity War." And that's I don't know. I think introducing canon was good, but I don't know if Maul was the good starting point. I think they did it because hey, everyone loves this horn motherfucker, and yeah. I want to see that double-bladed lightsaber in a movie. Like, I want to see him... I do want him. Either way, even if it's in another shitty Solo 2 movie... I don't think the movie's shitty, sorry. But, like, even if it's there, I'll take it in Darth Maul. I just
Yeah.
want them to make it fit the puzzle pieces. You
Yeah,
know?
and I agree. And
I
that
want to see
being
General
said-
Grievous again. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That being said, what you said...
Not as a hologram.
Let's just
though.
watch the prequels. You know what? Just remake the fucking prequels. Let's just do that. We love these characters. Just like,
That's a good idea.
we're rebooting
I'd
the
be into that.
prequels. Yeah, and
they ditched all the book canon, just ditched the prequel canon.
yeah. Who's like a hot young actor? Who would we cast as Anakin right now?
Alden Aronovich.
Aaron as Hayden Christensen as.
It's a
I feel
do
like
a documentary on the making of.
I feel like with what you said, like with Darth Maul, in this movie, you don't need to know that at one point he did control all these crime syndicates, that he had a brother called Savage Opress that he controlled them with. Like, these are things you don't
Oh,
need to
brother.
know.
Whoa, spoilers.
What did his brother look like?
Same as species.
Except he's green.
What?
Really?
He's more like a shit green.
What, like,
though.
What, how
more
do they
bulky.
differentiate the skin
Don't they call
colors?
it different
Like, what does
colors?
that mean?
Zabrak or whatever, his
Why is
species,
he
they
a
have
different
different. Well, like
Well,
Darth
we-
Maul, his red, but they all like some have
I mean,
taupe
yeah,
and
but-
black, some are like yellow and black. and
Yeah,
all
we
is
don't
red
all
and
have to have a
black.
bunch
Darth
of white
Maul was
people.
bored looking in the
That's
mirror. He's
true.
like, I gotta be evil, guys. I'm sorry. It's not my choice.
But I feel like the movie at least did a good job not requiring you to know all this stuff.
But I
They
think that's
introduced just
wrong
the-
because we just talked about how do we jump from guy who's a half body to guy who's crime lord with just the movies. Ignore canon. Canon never existed in the movies. How do we jump to that?
I feel like that's again something if they do pursue him as a character, and that is where I don't know where I stand on that because I'm still confused.
That's what
whether
they're gonna call this
pursue.
movie.
I don't know
Instead
where
of
I
it,
stand on
if.
that. But if they do obviously go down that road, they could easily have him just talking to someone and just drop all those facts.
Exposition.
So-
I think the biggest issue with this reveal though is that they make it seem so much like he's going to have a part in another movie.
Yeah.
Where I think if it was instead of like this huge like minute-long reveal at the end, instead of just like a quick little peek of maybe a hint that it was him earlier on in the film, where there's just talking about Dryden's boss. They're just like a hint that it's small, but maybe they don't exactly say his name. And then at the very end is just like a quick hood flip
Yeah.
and you see his face.
Well, they kind
and
of
then
do.
that
Like,
way-
did you think it was? You didn't think it was Darth Maul that was going to be revealed?
I didn't know
Because there was
what
points
they
in the
were
movie where
gonna
they
do.
talk about who the bigger.
Yeah,
boss
they talk
is.
about there's a bigger boss, but it could be anyone at that point.
Yeah.
It could be Boba Fett. Who knows?
Yeah.
He reveals a hood. It's just
I have a
helmet.
question for you, Taylor. So that crew of they called them Marauders at first, like the girl with all the
Pirates.
freckles. Are they like related to some other story?
No, as far as I'm
Because that was
aware
kind of out of left field. I felt like there was something more to those characters.
That's
that
the
we should
thing.
know
With
about.
her taking her helmet off, there was so much anticipation leading to that moment.
Yeah,
and
they really
and I
fucked
thought,
himself.
Yeah, I
I
was like,
was
is that
really
her,
missing
his
it.
daughter? Like, I don't know.
I think
Well,
the big
that's one of
reveal
those
Is that Aloy from Horizon Dawn?
I think what
I'm not
they're
sure
yeah.
what they're going for.
I think what they're going for is, it's a kid. Which one? She's not young enough for me to get that impression. But yeah, they
Oh,
really
I didn't
built-
know she was a kid.
Well, she's younger, right? Like I
Yeah.
took look at it, she's like a
The
teenager,
armor looks
right?
too big for her, which they
Yeah.
kind of helped get the point across.
And you just assume it's a dude, so it's kind of like a Samus thing, right? Like, oh, it's been a woman. Didn't you assume it was a dude though, with the voice and everything?
I guess.
Like, I feel like they're going for that freak out, but they accidentally made it feel like, oh, this is gonna be a character that you know or someone big.
One kind of rumor going around is that people think she's Rey's mom because it would.
Oh, fuck off!
And I don't know.
Why?
We
I don't know,
just
that's
dealt with
just-
this in Last
that's
Jedi.
just
Her
people-
parents are drunk. Let's just
People are like getting fan theories.
JJ saw that. He's like, I'm making her fucking mom. Like, that's the problem. It's gonna be such a mess.
We're changing the script again.
And those pirates or whatever, those were so poorly written. It makes no sense in the first act of the movie for them to be killing off these people, and then the third act later
They got
on.
Rogue One.
And then in the third act later on, they're like, no, let's not kill Han then, let's talk it out. Why the fuck didn't they talk it out the first time when they were trying to get this freighter off the train? They just resorted to killing everybody, and now they're like, nah, let's like talk to Han this time. It's like, no sense. Made no... Oh. Let's talk about writing and story. Anything else on canon? Because we had a good, healthy discussion. And this is
Very
something
healthy.
I think we're going to be talking about for weeks because with Boba Fett news and all this. Check out GeekVerse
We
news.
like to milk every topic until it's just completely done.
Yeah. I honestly would say, check out, it's not a cheap plug, check out news next week because we're going to be talking more Star Wars because I think a lot of developments are going to happen. So that'll be like the sequel to this podcast. It'll be GeekVerse.
If you love,
It'll be
if you love the
solo
super nerdy
Yeah.
stuff, Cantina Conversations
GeekVerse,
is
a
where you wanna
podcast
be.
story.
Continuing conversations are great.
Oh, Taylor has his phone out.
I do. So I have
Are
I think
these...
these are canon things to
Okay,
follow up with
okay.
that.
I wanna hear
It'll be
these.
very quick. So one cool thing when Han is gambling a fake ship that he doesn't have to Orlando.
Londo.
Londo.
On
The name of the ship,
Londo.
which I don't remember off by heart, but it's
Millennium Falcon.
the VCX 100
Yes.
light freighter.
Right.
It's actually the ship Ghost that they use in Rebels. Again, you guys
Okay.
100% know it, but
See,
it's
I'm
a
fine with
cool
stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not a big
that's
story
cool.
thing. I don't care what the
Fancy.
ship's
Yeah.
Well done, movie.
Another thing too, and this is very, very huge, at least for me,
Oh.
when Lando calls out Beckett for being the one who killed Aura Singh. Did you guys hear that in the movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good,
Do
yeah.
you guys know, understand
I
that?
Of course not.
I
She
think I was
was-
on like medication. I just missed so many points in this
Wow.
movie.
That's
She,
sorry.
she was in the Phantom Menace, actually, and she's
Oh
a big
my.
character in the animated series. But
Why should be a character in that main series?
Oh,
Dan?
yeah.
No, I said why.
Would I-
I'm setting you up to explain.
Who is she?
Yeah,
Who is she?
explain.
Phantom Menace. Who is this character?
she is a bounty hunter, and
Uh-huh.
she was good friends with Jango Fett, Bosk, all those characters. And then when Jango Fett died, and Boba Fett was basically lost on his own, she took him in and helped train him and guide him. to
She's
be
Boba
Fett,
Fett's
bounty hunter.
adopted mother,
Ah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And Beckett killed
She was
her.
in Rogue
which,
One.
She was
in
no, she was in
Phantom
Phantom
Menace.
Menace.
Oh.
And-
What
which-
was she playing Phantom Menace?
When the pod race is happening, she's like leaning over and
Classic
sees the
pod
pod race
race.
go on.
And then in canon wise, people didn't know she was dead yet, right?
Yeah.
So this confirmed that Beckett killed her.
Confirmed
So
that
it
she's
was
dead,
a big
yeah.
thing. Yeah, that I even caught. So
Beckett movie.
Another interesting thing too, the Bosk name drop that they
Mhm,
threw
that
in
was
there,
good,
which
yeah.
I think was fantastic. Which
Thank
goes to
God.
show
Not Dengar.
in Empire Strikes Back, I think it's very cool to show, maybe Boba Fett isn't in it for money with Han Solo, but Bosk is in there, he's in there going after Han Solo for other reasons, more personal.
I didn't
think.
get that from that line. I think they just want to say Bosk's name. I don't think they laid that much characterization of like, oh, this is why Bosk was in that tower with Darth Vader.
Which one?
Absolutely.
You can make that jump.
Yeah,
He's the
which one's
lizard-looking
Bosk?
motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what I
The
thought.
Trandoshan.
Yeah,
The
Trandoshan.
Is
Oh,
Trandoshan.
bad
Jin.
the bad Power
Obviously
Rangers. though.
Trandoshan.
Can you say Trandoshan in your British
It's not
accent?
Jin, it's Shin.
Damn
I
it.
will later. When you don't expect it.
Trandoshan.
It's Shian. It's not like ZGHE.
It's my pronunciation of it.
Was there a thought of you that pirate person was potentially going to be Ahsoka? I can never say her last name.
Ahsoka Tano?
Yeah.
Ahsoka
There's a
Tano.
part of me that thought it was going to happen. It didn't happen. But
It could have.
Yeah.
What's the actual proper pronunciation? Every time it sounded different. I thought it was Infusness the whole time.
Laurel.
Is that how you spelled it?
Trandoshan.
That's
Yeah,
a
Fitz Nest.
that's a joke that no one
I
was
just
able to
pronounced
find.
it
Memphis.
wrong.
At one point I thought it was like Memphis
Laurel.
Ness or something.
Yeah.
Memphis Ness.
It's so yeah.
Infus Nest.
It's awkward.
Proxima Midnight.
Business.
Proxima.
They don't want it to be said by people. They're trying to be secret.
No, they want you to watch the both
Emphasis.
of that.
Infamous.
Do you need any more
It's
canon
weird.
stuff, or can
It's
we move
weird.
on to the actual, I guess, movie?
Yeah, we haven't really.
I think it's warranted because it's like a big future
Hey, this is
thing.
what we
but-
do on the GeekVerse.
Oh yeah.
We take it 3 steps further.
Because
Where other podcasts are scared to go.
Because like we said, the GeekVerse podcast is like if we just got a theater we were talking about, we would have been talking about Darth Maul the first thing out of the theater. I think we did. We're like, oh, Darth
This is
Maul.
true.
And you know.
And you were too, fans.
Yeah.
Taylor, what do you got?
All right,
Any more
Taylor,
fingers
putting you on the
packing?
clock. 5
Put me
seconds.
on the clock.
Yeah.
5 seconds?
Start playing the music.
You know, I
We don't
think
have that
kind of production value.
You can still bring them up later at the end.
Yeah, all the rest of the stuff I have are Easter eggs.
Uh-huh.
I do have one topic I want to lead into though. Now
Do it.
moving on.
Hashtag
Yeah, okay.
transition.
Let's go.
I'm scared when he
Um,
wants to lean to a topic, but I don't know what the topic is. But I'm gonna put all my faith in you.
Okay. How do you guys feel that there was no Maz Kanata? Because I was
I don't.
really
Let's move on.
I was really expecting that they obviously showcased that Han and her have a huge connection in Force
Maz.
Awakens.
I hate
That's
to be
the
this.
end.
Yeah, it's a Maz.
Hey, that
What- what
forearmed
is
guy
called-
was like
what
her
do you call
cousin or
that?
something.
See, Maz is about the same thing. Like, aren't they related?
No.
Are they not? They're not. They're the same race or same.
Or did he?
I don't think so.
Londo.
They
No,
did
she
it.
doesn't. Maz doesn't have forearms.
Well, I know that, but she looks similar enough.
I'm pretty sure they're different species, unless the
Yeah.
males have forearms and the
Hey,
females.
I
have
honestly
I-
no
Maybe
idea.
I
they
was-
were married or something.
I was fine with Maz not being in it because I feel like they're clearly like we're gonna make more solo movies, so I guess that's when it's gonna happen. And I felt I don't know if there's a spot where they could have put her in. They could have put her in Beckett's crew, but they just decided to slipknot them all and fucking just kill them off really quickly. So I was like, okay, well, I guess maybe Maz was not a good fit for this crew. But I guess coming off Rogue One, I didn't want another crew movie, but I think almost like Boba Fett, it would have been better with a crew the whole way through. Like we kind of got, I guess we got a crew. I guess we did. It was just like, it was a crew
Somewhat.
and then he's alone. There's a crew and then he's alone.
It's
Like,
a never-changing crew.
oh yeah, it
People
was,
dying, people joining.
yeah. So yeah, Ma's not being in it. It's fine.
I actually didn't think about that until
Yeah.
you just mentioned
I
it
was
now.
thinking about it throughout the movie. I thought she might make an appearance, but
I had
feeling different.
They originally had her in
Nothing.
Maul's role, but
Nothing
they
for me.
changed.
takes off the hood.
Takes
It's
it's
Maz.
Maz. And she's really like a big villain in episode 9. She's been working
Oh,
on
yeah.
She's got horns.
The horns, dude.
shave them off.
Full of evil.
Yikes.
Okay, so you just really transitioned into more canon though. I thought you were getting into a new topic, but
I don't know. I wouldn't call it more canon. It's just
That
kinda-
is more-
No,
yeah.
it's just flushing in some stuff.
okay. Let's talk about Han Solo, the man, the myth, the legend, one of the most popular characters of all time. I'll start quickly and throw it off to you. I think so. What do you not think in pop culture Han Solo's
I would
one
say
of the
The most famous.
I said one of the
Star
most
Wars
popular.
lines.
No, I think in the movie.
Just in general.
If you made a
I
100.
don't know, man. Mario's got some real stock going for him.
Okay, move. Yeah. Hey,
That's a good statement.
if you made a list of the 100 most popular movie characters, I think Han Solo would be on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 9 stars. So
Yeah,
100's a lot better than
I can agree with that.
yeah, 30 top 3. My problem, and I'll throw these guys next. My problem with Han Solo is he was all over the map in this movie. I'm not gonna talk about all Mary Ranks acting anymore. It is what it is. I didn't buy into it. That sucks, but whatever. I felt that they played too much of that he was the good guy thing going on, and that's fine. But then I won that big moment where, okay, he is the piece of shit. My biggest problem is at the end, he does this good thing for the pirates. He gives them the stuff and everything like that, and they're like, you should come be a rebel with us and be a good guy. He's like, nah, I'm not a rebel. You just fucking did a really good thing for these
Yeah.
people. And like, the way he blew them off was like, whatever. Like, he should have, I wish he almost said something to them that was like kind of offensive and like a real asshole, where he was just like, not this day. It's like,
But then he doesn't
Yeah.
get the refined coaxial or whatever you call it. He says,
Han
"Fuck
to
you-
me is the
fuck
character.
you guys.
Han to me is the
Throw
character
it.
when he give it to them and he's like, I'm keeping this one for myself, and then he pimps off. The most Han
Yeah.
thing that happens in this movie is done by Lando or Londo, sorry. When
Londo.
when Lando leaves, when he's like, it's a great scene when he's like, I have 30 guys, I snap my fingers, they'll be around like that, and Lando just leaves. That's Han Solo. That should be Han Solo right now. He's not a Yeah, he's not a good guy till that's the whole point of New Hope is he leaves and then he comes back. And if we're doing the whole good guy thing, okay, he's a good guy. I don't know, what's the traumatic thing? Okay, Kira kind of leaves him again, who already was sort of shady. And then when she leaves him, he's still like, gee golly, like, whatever, I'm not
Yeah,
a good guy,
exactly.
walk. It's
All
like,
happy.
that should be the moment where he should be like, oh, he's not going to drop an F-bomb, but like, fuck her, like, fuck love, fuck everything like this. Like, even the scenes with Beckett, like, I wish he was a bit more hard on Beckett, but he killed him in like a putting him out of his misery sort of way. He should have killed him
Then
like
they
fuck
ran over to
you.
him.
Yeah, like you
Ran
turn
over.
your back on me, like you get to die alone or something like that. Like I didn't feel any edge from him, and that was a big problem. That he had it a few times, but
No,
yeah,
I totally agree with you. I feel like throughout this, like majority of the whole movie, I felt like he was the good guy,
Mhm.
whereas I kind of wanted to see his like rugged like
The
bad
scumbag,
boy,
yeah.
scumbag like beginnings, you know, because that's I feel like that's what this movie should have been. Because like you said, in A New Hope, we see that already, like
Yeah.
him becoming the good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie. It's like now he's just the good. He's
I
supposed to
also felt like he was just like the dad joke version of Han Solo.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
He was just going for cheap little jokes and like things that were really only kind of funny to him. Nothing had like a big impact.
Mhm.
It's kind of unfortunate.
And I didn't feel like he was that much of an asshole in this movie too. That's what I love
Totally
about
not,
Han.
yeah,
Like Han
totally.
just even when he does become the ultimate good guy, he still is just like fuck you, dude. Like you're always just
Yeah.
like he's not quipping. That's another problem I have with this movie. The humor is not the greatest, but his jokes, there's a few of them, like that one with the 12 parsecs, and he's like, we're rounding down, Chewie. Like, that was a really Han thing. The most times he felt like Han to me is when he was talking with Chewie and was talking with Lando. The other times, I did not feel like he was Han. His scenes with Kira felt, I don't know, he was too lovey-dovey for me to be Han. Like, and that's a personal thing. I don't like that he had this big love before Leia. To me, now it's like, oh, so, like, if this Kira girl would have stuck around, like, he probably wouldn't be with Leia. You know, like, I know that's a story of life, but it's like, I felt like there could have been more than just, like, she leaves him on the island and he's like, oh, damn. You
Yeah,
know, like,
my other thing with their relationship, and it's just weird because it was a choice they made where they, you know, finally reconnect after all this time, and then they just like push off talking for like a while, and that was obviously they even like she even mentions that exact thing happening. It just seemed like a weird choice to me because I don't know. I feel like it didn't feel like a real like connection between those two when they finally got back together.
I'd rather just them have been friends or friends that maybe like had a relationship but even somehow escaped together and broke up and then they got brought back on this opportunity. I didn't need this movie to be about Han Solo having this like long lost love and trying to get back
Just
to
make
her,
it his
you know?
cousin and you know take out all the kissing.
Well, you don't have to in Star Wars, you know?
It's true. It's true. Bring back Shmi.
That's who should have been taking the cloak off, not Darth Maul. Shmi all the way.
I think
Just insert the
I
names of all
really-
the different faces.
Yeah, that should be. I mean, once the spoilers get out, yeah.
I agree with you like completely pretty much. His writing was really weird. Like there was only a couple moments that were really to me it wasn't like so much about being Han Solo or feeling like the character that we've seen in the future movies, but it just wasn't even interesting like in and of himself, you know, because that's kind of what I was looking at first because it took me a bit to kind of fall into him being Han Solo, and I think he did some things really well. Like you mentioned, like his stances and like some of the things he would do with his eye.
Yeah,
and
anytime he leaned against the door, he'd have like that gunslinger.
Good
like,
posturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely watched New Hope a few times.
He definitely more than one. Yeah, he exuded that confidence. But yeah, it was too lighthearted, right? And I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he felt consistent throughout the movie, but it was just kind of consistently boring.
I don't think the writing
Very
did though,
flat.
because they
Yeah.
one scene they'd be like he's a real bad like scallywag, and then the next scene's like no he's a good guy, and he would act that way. So I
Yeah,
don't
they
think
talked
it
about
was.
him being a good guy way too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah.
I think for me it was he started the film as this one character
Mhm.
that it to some degree didn't even fit, and then he just stayed that character all the way through the film. There was no development with his writing, and we didn't get to see why
that pilot.
he started off as kind of like this kind of like wannabe good guy, kind of cocky scoundrel, but the thing is he didn't even seem like, I mean, obviously he's a good pilot, but we don't get any insight into that. We don't see much of it, or like we
But
don't
that's
really
what-
see
yeah.
why he's a good pilot throughout the film. There wasn't a lot of depth to why he was that way throughout the film, and then we go through the whole film and nothing changes.
Yeah, he felt like the Star Wars classic Chosen One, where he just like has all these abilities,
Yeah.
where he can do way
Very
too much, just
Ray-like, yeah.
just
Yeah.
like Ray, you know. And
Yeah.
like,
To me, that's not Han.
That
no.
wasn't good with Ray either.
No,
Like, you gotta explain or show
Yeah,
something.
like
Yeah.
there was no
You don't need a
sort of
Dagobah scene with like Luke training. You can do it in other ways
Mhm.
and make it more interesting or different. But I think you need something like that at some point.
Yeah.
And there was so many opportunities. I think they should have all the action scenes could have been cut shorter
Yeah.
or even remove one or two of them.
Well, and I don't think that's what you were referring to, because like he's this one character and he goes along. I think the only reason we know him of this character is because of what we know of Han Solo, because the movie starts with like a chase scene and an action scene. We don't even get to know like who this Han. We know who Han Solo is because of the other movies, but we don't get to know who this character is before this adventure
Yeah,
starts. It's just
exactly.
adventure, and then after, when it is a quiet moment, it's like, oh, it's all about getting his girl back. But it's like,
Yeah.
and that's why I keep joking about that. what is this character? I want to be the best pilot in the galaxy. Okay, but give me a little bit more of that. And then it's just always, I want to be the best pilot.
Why
It's like,
you want to be that?
yeah, like what? I mean, he talks a little bit about with his dad, but it's like I want more of that. Like my favorite moments in the movie was like that campfire scene where they're just kind of messing around and joking. But the movie was just like started with so much action. It just assumed that, which they should because it's Star Wars, but just like, oh, you know who Han is, so we don't really have to explain who he was before he was on Corellian or whatever, you know, like Corellian. Thank you. That's why I pointed at you because I knew I was gonna butcher.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the sense of who this Han was really. It was just a template of these are attributes that he has in other movies and we're gonna hit on. Always a nice guy, always a scumbag, always like a pilot. We're gonna hit on them, but we're not gonna dive deep into them. And I don't know if we ever need to dive deep in them because he's like the third lead in the fucking OG trilogy. So I never and Force Awakens is pretty much his and Rey's movie, so I never felt like we needed I never needed to know why he really wanted to become a pilot. But if you're gonna tell this movie, make it interesting, and I guess for me it just wasn't interesting.
Another moment too. Him and Lando they have that scene where they talk about like their fathers briefly, and then Lando talks about his mom. And then Han just doesn't. Like that's an opportunity to explain that backstory, or even Kira talk. I don't know if she just said this to Dryden to fool him or something, but she said that they like grew up together, and I presume they've known each other for most of their lives. I don't really like flashbacks usually, but I don't know. There was an opportunity there to go back more into the character if you want, because there's the intro scene, and then it's like 3 years later. And it doesn't feel like there's any sort of change in that time, right? It's just for the sake of plot. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe they could have started further back, or I don't know. It just seems like they maybe should have had more backstory, explaining the character. And the moments we did get, I really didn't like. I thought the how he got his name part.
Oh my god!
Is super fucking cheesy, way over the top cheesy. And I think Chewie's introduction was super cheesy as well.
Yeah.
And
I like Chewie's introduction. I really like that. Yeah. Because they just kind of fuck with you.
The thing is, I don't have suggestions of how they could have done either of those things better. I haven't really thought about it. But I don't like the choices that they made for those two pretty big origin stories, really.
Oh, definitely.
I don't mind the scene of them meeting and kind of being juxtaposed to each other. I don't know if I love the scene that it was a little cheesy and Han speaking Wookiee. I don't know if that was the best call to do in the movie. But I liked that because the way they kind of...
Well, like, how does he fucking know Wookiee even, right?
Well,
Right. But I mean, he can understand it, and it's Chewbacca that speaks Wookiee but interprets everyone
No,
else's
he's like, I
language
speak
for
a
him.
little, and then he has like a perfect conversation.
I feel, I feel like Han, because Chewbacca was in such a rage and was starving for 3 days, it snapped Chewbacca out of that set because he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just don't know. Like, him speaking Wookiee is like a little goofy, but I like that they set up almost like you think it's going to be a Rancor or something else.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I liked the I liked, but the other stuff, because that to me, it felt like at least they sat down and was like, okay, let's think of multiple ways they could meet each other. And that's like, maybe it's not the best way for you, but it's like, at least it was a scene where like literally the name thing is just like, oh, so you're alone. Okay, your last name's Solo now. And it's like, that's so, at least the Chewie scene has some thought put into it, right? And they built up to it of like, there's a beast, and like, they did make it like some tension go on, where the Solo thing was like, and then he keeps the name that this Empire guy gives him, and then his blaster is just because it's some campfire. He's like, here, have this gun. It's like, all the stuff I hate about prequels of just like, you want to know how he got his fucking shoes? This guy gave it to him. You know, like,
you're interested in how he got his blaster? I didn't know that.
What?
You're interested?
No,
in how
I'm
he got his
not.
blaster?
And that's why I don't want this fucking movie. I don't need to know that. That kid just threw it to the side and like, here, kid, you're gonna need this. It's
But
like,
then you don't
and
have
this
to
is a
take
gun
it-
he's kept for fucking 15 years.
You don't have to take it that way, though.
What?
Because, I mean, it's to every random moviegoer, it's just Becca throwing him a pistol.
But I'm not a random moviegoer, and I know what that
No,
means.
but you just said you don't care about that, though.
But I don't. But then, know what they do? They take 5 seconds to zoom in on the gun and play like dramatic music. Like, get it? This is the gun. This is the gun. This is the gun.
Like these anthology films are much more for these Star Wars nerds and moviegoers than the casual person.
Yeah.
The casual person just needs to see like the big movie and be like, yeah, this was nice. But for us, like, that's what these movies are for. That's what the anthologies
Like,
are for.
why does his name have to be? Why does it have to be a Finn thing? Why does it have to be so like?
Oh,
Finn
I'm
made
not
sense 'cause
disagreeing
Finn
with
is like
you.
this new character, but like, why do we need to like? It's so.
I'm not
like,
disagreeing
that's
with you.
fantastic.
Honestly, like it was predictable leading up to that point where he's like, oh, alone. I'm thinking, well, I know where he's going.
What
with
is he
this.
chewing
on tobacco?
Is he sucking a dick in that scene?
Like it was honestly
You're off.
Yikes.
It was getting too predictable at that one moment, and that is something I will discredit with this film. I don't appreciate that they did that. I don't like how his name was just casually given to him like that. I think they could have done so many other different things with that. Do I know off the top of my head right now? No. But give me some time, I'll do something better than that.
Well, just even like with Chewie, it's like, I don't need to know why he calls him Chewie. Oh, your name's long. I guess I'm gonna have to shorten that. Just start calling him Chewie. I don't need to know why you call him Chewie. In the originals, I just assumed, oh, guess what? That's his fucking nickname for him because his name's Chewbacca. I didn't need, your name's kind of long. I don't know if I want to keep saying that. I need to find something to shorten that. It's like, I don't need 5 lines to know why he calls him fucking Chewie.
I totally agree. And that goes with what I said earlier. There was so much that they could have cut out of this movie, and it would have not hindered it whatsoever. If that is a scene there, they could have cut that whole part out, and it would have been fine.
And they didn't even give him a life debt.
Yeah.
No, but I think that kind of self-explanatory with how it worked, you know.
This thing where a Wookiee, where something could happen, will give his whole life towards one person to me is much more interesting than knowing why Solo has his last name or how he got his gun. You know, like, that's where those scenes, it's like, that's why I didn't mind the Chewie thing, because it's like, that's something that is vital to them. I didn't need to know, but if you need to do a prequel, that is an important part of, like, okay, how these characters meet. Him getting his gun, him calling him Chewie, him with a name, like, those are stuff that I did not need to know. The only thing that I liked that they, like, subvert expectations was this Sabaku game, or I've never been able to say that one, so whatever it is, card game. I like that the first scene, because it's legendary in Star Wars that, like, oh, Han won the game or he won the ship in the game. I like the first time that they play the game, they fool you because you think that's what it's going to be, and Lando cheats, and then he outwits in that one. That's the stuff I like. Like, that felt like there's some real thought put in that, like, oh, you think this is going to be the scene, you know it's coming, and then when Han loses, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, like, what are they doing? Yeah. And then at the end, you're like, oh, this is how he's gonna do it, and like he brings him in, like that's the stuff. Like there's still good stuff in this movie, but that's what makes me mad. It's like when good stuff happens, then it's like the lazy stuff, like the soul happens.
All the cosmetic things.
Yeah, it's like why do we have to go? Why do we do this? You know, like.
Aye.
Is that what you've been saying in the group chat?
Yeah.
Are you just saying that now, or is that because
he said it like 3 times at least in the car ride.
In my head, it was like
Solo.
Yeah, I like to annoy myself a lot, so I do these things and I just kill them instantly.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it just
because you don't want anyone else to say it, so you just kill a person.
Yeah, exactly. If you try to take it, well,
it already sucks.
It always catches me off guard too, because you're not a big Power Rangers fan, so you know Alpha 5 always.
I'm one of the least Power Ranger fans.
Yeah, so.
If that's
Some
a
would
sentence.
Taylor, you actually haven't spoke on Solo's character at all. You're a big notorious Solo hater. He's not even
come on.
He's not even in your
No,
top
I'm
10
not.
Star Wars characters.
I can't remember my top 10 character
Oh,
lists.
yeah,
When
now
we
he is.
officialize
Now he is.
it, I'll give you my
So
top
unmemorable his
and-
top 10 characters.
We haven't officialized our list of top 10 characters.
Londo.
The clone in the
Yeah, you
tree
can
is
give me shit
easily
for Carillion. You can give me shit for Carillion or whatever, but you said Londo.
Yeah.
And Orlando. He's been playing Dark Souls.
Yep.
No, I think as far as I was concerned with Han Solo, there was so much that they did development-wise that wasn't necessary. You know, there were moments that it didn't. What?
No,
Keep going.
I'm touching upon the facts that you guys talked about, like with Han Solo, and like I agree with a lot of what you said. That being said, certain things I think his acting, coach helped him out a lot. I'm so happy.
You gotta bring up the acting.
No Ace Ventura, and I'm so happy with that.
Go check out Cantina Conversations.
That was a thing, yeah. So I'm very happy with a lot of these things.
Like confused face.
He, as I said earlier, he felt straight up like Han Solo. I loved his progression at times. Then again, there were the lulls, but when he was looking for his way out, and he looks at the the Imperial Academy recruiting place on Corellia, and he goes in there, and he overlooking how he gets his name, but just when he's trying to get in and escape from the stormtroopers, and it skips 3 years, I was totally okay with that part. And when it immediately jumps into this combat, I immediately just fell in love with this grittiness that I was seeing, and it wasn't that it was something that I wish.
Rogue One flashback.
No, because Rogue One lacked that, and that is something I really am upset that this movie got and Rogue One didn't. And I think that it yes, it adds to Solo, but it takes away from Rogue One for me a lot. That they were able to deliver with this, but not in that film. And I think
That was a weird scene for me because it didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like a World War II movie or something.
Well, yeah, it felt. I'm glad they didn't throw stormtrooper armor onto Han Solo, because that would have felt You know, very weird. Of course, it probably would have been a cool nod, you know, to A New Hope or whatever, but no one expects ever to see Han Solo as originally a stormtrooper. I think it's better to see him as, like, the mobile infantry wearing some basic front lines gear or whatever. I think it fits better with what they did. That being said, like, that whole scene of him running through and guys are being disintegrated and you see the ATSTs being deployed and you hear TIE fighters flying over, I'm thinking, this is absolutely fantastic how they did visually, sound effects, everything, what's going on is amazing. And Beckett's introduction in this point, I loved it. The gunslinger that you see in Star Wars video games and everything, thrown on the big screen for once, you know, it felt great.
I agree. I actually did like that scene. What killed it for me is I didn't like how much humor was in the scene, and that happened a lot in this movie, where for me the humor wasn't hitting, and Star Wars has a very specific humor, and in this movie I felt, again, they're going at times for the Marvel quippy humor, and I don't think it works in Star Wars. Like, my line that I hate is when Beck at one point shooting the can, he's like, oh, my thumbs. It's like, you could have Drax say that in an Avengers movie and it might kill, but in this movie, to me, all that type of stuff falls flat, and that's what happened with that scene. It was too... I didn't feel it was gritty because people are sure as hell happy, and that's where I would definitely give Rogue One over the thing, because they're not making jokes during the battle scene.
No,
and the only thing that's more gritty is that scene takes place at nighttime.
Well, it doesn't stack up with Beckett too. When you see him flinging his pistols around, why would his fucking thumbs hurt? It doesn't add up with his character when you think about it.
I mean, I didn't think about it that way, but fair enough. I can't say you're wrong.
But I mean, leading on with Han Solo and everything, you know, yes, he has his ups and downs, but I mean, I saw Han Solo on the screen, not anything different. Leading on with Chewbacca, I loved how he was introduced. I thought it was fantastic. The one point in this movie where I got watery, teary eyes, I didn't cry though, was when, and I knew it was coming, when they looked at Chewie, he's like, what are you going to do? And Chewie's like, well, I want to free my people because the Empire has taken Kashyyyk and, you know, they've made into slaves. And for me, you know, playing like Star Wars Battlefront or whatever, and you get that storyline, and, you know, like with Revenge of the Sith, and you see you have these people and these soldiers, these clone troopers working with the Wookiees, and just to see it all turned around, and it was a very brief moment into Chewbacca's past, but, you know, as a fan like myself, it makes me feel out for his character in so many ways, and I think that was a great little shout out for him and his past that many people don't actually understand.
See, to me, it's like Rogue One again, where it's all super surface level stuff. Where earlier in the movie, they throw one line about, oh, they're slaves, and then he sees them later on, and that's it. Like, it's not talked about. Like, I feel like that would be a scene where even Solo should console him later on or talk about that. Like, that's why I want to get like into these characters. The same thing as Rogue One. Like, take out 3 or 4 of them and like let's actually like take out Kira. Just make her some sort of thing. Don't make it a love interest. Just make it a partner. Make it a friend. But no, because we're gonna spend half an hour with them making out and shit like that. Like, I want to know more about, like, you know, how Chewbacca feels, and obviously it's tough because he.
It's the Wookiee thing where they walk past Leia and Force Awakens.
Well, it is, but then like
Chewie's weird because there's a few scenes, like his first few scenes, where they like subtitle over the stuff he's saying so you can actually understand, but then they just stopped doing that completely.
No, they didn't subtitle him. They
subtitled
Han
when he was speaking.
Yeah.
I swear there was like 1 or 2 lines. No?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Never mind.
No. And the other thing I was gonna say.
Well, that's why Chewie's so boring for me, you know? And that's why I'm done with him, because you're not going to get this development with a character who doesn't talk. I mean, obviously they kind of do some stuff with Groot, but really that's not really much development there, and they have like other characters talk about it. But most of the time, it was just like he was the last one to say a line, right? Right at the end.
Well, yeah, but
that was a good one.
That's where I'll disagree.
That's like big sad.
Obviously, it was fucking 30 years ago, but like in the OG trilogy, they do that. They show Chewbacca showing heart for people or things, so I know it can be done. That's the thing that's frustrating. It's not like this new character. Now,
well, I'm just because he's still in the current trilogy.
Yeah,
movies,
he is.
and
he's just off the side.
This, like, I don't know. I'm done with that character. Let's move on to someone else.
I'm not done with it, but because I still saw flashes of Chewbacca being used well. Like, the best Chewbacca is used is when he'll say something and Han will say some stupid line and it'll be like, oh, that's what he's talking about, and that's fine. I think there's still a way to use Chewbacca, and I think Chewbacca comedically is one of the best parts of this movie, but I still think they could use him better. So I want that in the OG trilogy. I just think they're just not using him correctly.
Do you mean the way he bounces off with Han Solo for his own sake, or his history that we haven't, it just scratches the surface like you said, with characters?
Well, what's your question there? Because you asked me...
Well, you said some characters are very... I don't know how you word it
surface level?
Yeah, so is that your problem with Chewbacca?
Well, that is the thing, because with Chewbacca, he's just kind of there again in this. Where if this is a movie about him and Han meeting each other, there should be more of a bond. The same thing with if Han and Beckett are gonna have this really dramatic scene where Beckett's dying, they should have built that relationship up a bit more. You know, where they don't have to in the OG trilogy because you just meet Han and Chewie. It's like, oh, I've known them for decades or whatever. It's like, okay, they're friends. I don't need to know why. But if this is the movie of how they meet, they go pretty quickly, and that's where it's like, okay, I thought they were gonna introduce the life debt here because that's why he would stick with Chewie, and that's some like backstory of like. If you don't know the specifics of it, you get into it like, oh, this is like what a Wookiee does. If someone saves his life, like he literally gives his whole life to this one person, and that to me is like something where you could flesh out Chewbacca a little more and give him something even a little emotional. But it's like, no, that's not even there. You know, like it's just what do they call that? Back in school when there'd be a book and you go to that website, was it Cliff Notes?
Yeah.
That's what the movie like this and Rogue One feel like sometimes, where they just kind of give you the 2 lines what the character's about, but they don't really dive deep into it, you know? Because I feel like there can be Chewbacca. We can make Chewbacca great again, you know? It can happen. The OG trilogy. That's why he's such a famous, iconic character, because he had humor, he had heart, he had the action, like he had that all. He was Groot for the '80s, you know? He was that. And maybe Groot's just replaced him, but I don't want that. I want Chewbacca back, you know?
I'll take Groot over Chewbacca. Any day.
Oh, I wanted to say, go back to that. You guys went away from it for a little bit, but the 3 years later into the battlefield scene, that was like a make or break moment for me, and I love that they kind of like went to him, and then Han is all of a sudden just like down in the shit, like having a miserable time, and things are going rough, and for me that was that kind of moment where it's like this could be why Han kind of like got all like really shitty, like he's down on his luck, nothing's going his way, and he turned to crime to get out of this, and was just kind of like a dick from then on. He didn't really like people and whatnot, and that was a great way to do it. And it was really dark and like gritty, and like they started off really well, as you were saying, with like the AT.
Just wait, draw.
It's ATST actually, not AT-AT.
No, I said ATST.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, no, good. We're good.
It'd be a lot bigger.
Yeah, I thought it was a great scene. But then, and I was like, yo, this is gonna be a sick movie if this is going where I think it's going. But then, it just broke, and it had Beckett like twirling the guns and being
and
all
Han's pretty
fancy
upbeat.
and stuff. And yeah, Han's like pretty upbeat about it, and then Han is still the same character he was 3 years ago. There's there's no change in him, and then it's like too lighthearted, and then all of a sudden it's like. Yeah.
Like when him and Kira meet, it feels like maybe only a few days have passed since they've met each other.
Yeah.
I feel like the exact same people, you know, and that would have been a good reason for them not to be in love, because maybe he is a piece of shit, and she's like, this is not the guy I fell for. It's like, well, this is the guy I am now. But it's like, no, anytime you're in a room, he's always fucking circling her too. It felt really weird. He's always saying stuff and talking about stuff being enormous. It's like, oof.
They even mentioned that like he got kicked out of the Imperial Academy and stuff, and it's like they mention it once and they don't touch on it at all. And
I don't think this guy would. Like, I don't get the sense like, oh, he's a real like scrapper, like shithead.
No,
it's like, I don't know, did he just show up late a couple times? You know? Like,
yeah, I mean, considering he is apparently a hell of a pilot, like why was he not just piloting stuff and then just flew off with the TIE fighters?
Yeah, he just wanted to fly. So like, what ended up being the problem? Like,
he's the fancy flyboy.
That's the stuff. Like, again, the stuff that I didn't really want to movie. The stuff like, oh, let's get him that. They didn't get him that. They just moved by really quickly, and they get into this big adventure.
Might as well be 3 days later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that for me that was like a really big moment in the film, but it was like make or break it, and they just broke it. Yeah. So I think from then on was when I was just like kind of disappointed in a lot of stuff, and there were some moments where I was like, hey, that's pretty good. You know, maybe it's not so bad, but
yeah.
We
want to speed around a few of the rest of these characters. We had Beckett, we had Kira, we had.
Quickly, let's just dive into L337.
L3?
The droid.
Well, I don't know why you cut me off, because I said let's jump into the side characters, and you're like, hang on a second.
We're not going
there. Gotta jump into
the
side character.
Yeah. Take the floor.
I didn't like.
That's twice now.
Really? No.
I've seen some people say I 100% like her more than K2SO, because I like
K2SO.
Yeah,
great guy.
Yeah, because I didn't laugh as much. Once again, Tyler, go watch Rogue One again.
Yeah, that's probably also a very good point.
K2SO to me just always felt like the joke, and there is some humor for her I did not like. I hated the scene when they did she was sawing this whatever, and she's like, don't look at me like you're there doing like a pissing kind of joke. Hated that, but I like the emotional stuff, and I fucking loved anything with her and Lando. They were fantastic, and I love that that's the stuff where it felt like an old Star Wars. Like they insinuated them like getting it on with each other. Like that's the stuff I liked.
Yeah, that Len or L3 and Kira in the
Yeah.
cockpit there. That was
How does
great.
it work? It works. And that's Star Wars humor to me, where it's very subtle. It's not like a get it, and they cut away from it. Like they just let it hang enough. I really liked L3. I like that she had this rebellion, and she reminded me more of what's the droid in KOTOR? I always forget.
Oh,
But
fuck.
yeah, the way when she was just like arguing at the beginning of that scene for droid rights and everything like that and let people free, like, because sometimes when you bump into droids in Star Wars games, they're always just going off on random stuff. Where K2SO just felt like we really need comedic relief in this movie. There it is,
And killed it.
yeah, nah, not for me, but I really enjoyed L3.
I agree with you
Mhm.
on that character.
And fantastic scene the way they killed her and how Lando, and that's Donald Glover as an actor, but this is a droid and he felt like he was losing like an actual love interest in that moment, and it was fantastic. I think.
I like how he was holding her and the Chewbacca was holding him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for me that scene was like the fact that he didn't immediately think to like put her nav drive or something or like back her up into the ship or earlier. I thought that was kind of like, I feel like that was a pretty obvious
She
solution
was
to
her own.
dying.
She was her own person, dude.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
I
but-
took that the way that he didn't want her to fully become the part of the ship because, like, that's almost degrading her and she's, like, a robot now. Like, that's what I took, because when they say that to him, he's like, yeah, it can be done, and then he's like, well, do it, and then he, like, slinks away. That's how I took it. It's like, oh, I don't want her just to be, like, a fucking map. Like, I was
Yeah,
getting
for
on
real.
Well, I was
with
thinking
it.
like they could have like
Yeah.
backed up more
Just
than
getting on
just
with
her
his
nav
map.
drive though, because he was holding her in like the lounge area for like a good minute. I feel like that time
morning.
could have been to taking like her whole like her as a droid
He was emotional.
and downloading
Yeah.
her into the.
I see. Yeah, I just think it's just because he was just mourning her, and he's like he didn't really care about what was going on, and then it's like, well, if I'm gonna die, I guess I should snap to it, you know.
Snap to it.
Snap
Alright.
to it.
Snapping necks.
I felt it lacking a little bit, but a lot of other good things that you guys said about L3 that I agree with. So
Mm.
Yeah, she was great.
We've talked about it a bit. Let's just talk about Londo. You know,
Londo.
Yeah,
Londo, great place.
Obviously, lots of hype going into it. People he got cast saying he was gonna be perfect, and to me, he was. Like, it was one of those things that he lived up to the hype. I think they used him just enough in this movie. I wanted more because he was the best part. I feel like the movie really picked up when Han met him, because at that point, I was like, this is kind of slow. And anytime he's on the screen, he was just stealing it. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry,
When he's
Tim.
doing like the logs.
Oh yeah, like, and he's just like, it's a vintage cape, and it's like
Yeah.
all the lines he had, his humor worked, and he felt like a young Lando, like he felt like Billy Dee Williams. He even changed his voice up a bit, and the way he would speak and he'd carry himself, and just the way he would hold a glass or hold a person's hand or anything like that. He just felt like a genuine character. He felt like you could rip him out of the movie and it's a real person, and like, yeah, and that's why I could see why people are like, yeah, we might make a Lando movie, because I do want to see more. I want to see how this guy ends up owning an entire city.
I like
because-
how he mentioned earlier, like how he hates mining colonies.
Yeah.
And then
And like, I feel like there's so much to this character, and they made Lando the most interesting character in a movie that's called Solo, and I think maybe that's not a good thing to do, but at the end of the day, it worked because I want to. When I leave this movie, I want to see more of him. I don't want to see Solo 2. I do want to see Lando now, and
Maybe it's the Lando movie that Maul's in.
Yeah.
Who knows?
maybe.
I think one thing that was great about him is that it might have been partially Donald Glover, it might have been for whatever reason he had better writing than Han, but he had so many more dimensions and facets to his character and his acting
That's a good question to
compared
ask.
to Han Solo.
Yeah.
I felt, at least, because like he went through so many different emotions and he really owned each emotion.
Yeah.
And he felt like he changed throughout the film to some degree. And you saw these different parts of him.
Yeah.
And he just oozed charisma for one, and there's a lot going on for him, and Donald Glover obviously acted it phenomenally.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I'm wondering if it's the writing or the acting.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the acting, because if you look at Lando on just a base of, like, you take the acting on just the writing, he's not in it that much, and they don't give him that much to do. I think L3 is his big moment, and I think the rest of the movie, like you said, the whole time he is adapting, he's changing as a character. It feels like that, but I do feel like that's a lot of the acting going on.
I do agree, but I think he had a much wider like variety of
Yeah.
lines than Han Solo had, because Han Solo he was always written to have this one objective, and as Aaron, there's not a lot you can do to kind of play with those lines unless he's straight up changing them, which he only has so much power over what he can do with that.
Yeah.
Whereas Donald Glover, it felt like the lines were, there's a much larger variety of things for him to work with.
Yeah.
Which even maybe because he was a side character per se, not a side character, but he wasn't the main character, he could have had a little bit more liberty with what he could have done. But yeah, so I think there's a combination of both. I think he was probably honestly written better than Han Solo, but also Donald Glover was just a phenomenal actor. So.
Yeah, I really loved the like adjustment he did to his voice because it wasn't like very severe, but it was still like enough to.
It was very convincing.
Yeah, and it was consistent the whole way through as well. Yeah, I thought he was a fun character. I agree with you guys. I don't think it got me excited to the point where I'm like, give me a Lando movie right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously I've seen the original trilogy. I've seen those movies a few times, but I don't really have much memory of Lando. I feel like he's not really in it a whole lot anyway.
He's not really, no.
Is he in all three of them?
No, he's just in the last two.
Just in the last two.
And even then, like in...
I honestly can't really recall a whole lot of like what he does or what he says in those movies, but
Empire,
he
he's
wears
just
Han's clothes.
He does wear Han's clothes.
I didn't remember that even, but yeah, I don't know. I thought he was a fun character, and I think he definitely like just like the atmosphere when he was in the scene was generally better.
Yeah.
Seemed like there was good communication from him with the other characters, L3 and Han and all that stuff. So he was fun. I like the style. Like I love the place where they were playing like poker. Where was the game called?
Sabacc. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the look of that room and like all the people they had, all the aliens, all like just chilling there. It was a really nice look. And then when they go back at the end and he has like that shirt on, yeah, he's big swagging.
So. Oh, he was big swagging.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely the highest point for me in this movie. Like my favorite character. I'm biased because I'm a huge Donald Glover fan. I'm a huge fan of everything he does. He's such a talented individual. But like everyone said, he just nailed the Lando role so perfectly with just the look and his body language and his voice and the way he delivered his lines. I was just so impressed. Like it just, cause like I feel like for Han, there was a couple scenes where I'm like, oh man, like that is so identical to Harrison Ford. That is so perfect. But for Lando, every single line he had, it was just like, man, that is Lando. Like that just.
I think all of his lines really make him like a kind of weird, quirky character, right?
Yeah.
Which just makes him have more personality than
That's
Han
refreshing
Solo
in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like Han Solo, a lot of his writing just made him kind of bland.
Yeah.
But that's the problem that we talk about the voice. I didn't get that with all of them too. Like the voice, I was always like, this doesn't sound like Han. But that's the problem. Like Han shouldn't be a bland character. You know, like I hate when you say it because like
the main character of any movie shouldn't be bland unless it's Napoleon Dynamite, and that's the objective.
Well, yeah, and to me, when you watch the OG trilogy, I don't think you would ever describe Harrison Ford as bland in that. Like Harrison Ford is like the Lando in those movies, where even when he's on the side, he's always doing something with his eyes or his body, or it's like your eyes are on him. That's how he was Donald Glover in this movie. Like I'm always watching Glover to see how he's reacting in the scene where he's kind of like a brick
It's a weird
wall.
thing because on one hand it's like, oh, maybe they wanted to do a Solo movie, maybe wait a few years because Han Solo just died recently, like the actual character, and Harrison Ford playing him.
What?
but on the other side of it, it's like, is anyone ever really gonna match up with Harrison Ford, and is it worth it to wait? Because either way, I feel like whoever follows him up is not gonna live up to the expectations that people want.
Well, and that's the thing that I always throw out. Like people throw out the Obi-Wan thing, but you look at Obi-Wan, he wasn't A New Hope, and then also he was a few times sprinkled throughout the rest of the trilogy, but Han was this OG character throughout the whole movies, and to me, it's a lot different when Al Guinness is 60 years old and Ewan McGregor's playing like the 2030 version, where this is the 5 years younger version of Han, and it's like, this is the 5 years younger? No, apparently it's 5, though. Apparently the movie starts 10 years later, but the point of the movie, because remember they do the 3 years jump,
so it goes from 10 years, and
it's
it skips
between
3 years, but that's
it's
actually
5
years?
It's 5 to 7, but I've heard other people say that it's like they haven't nailed down when like they've said 10, but maybe it wasn't 10. Either way, if they still jump 3 years, it's like 7 to 5 years. I still don't see that growth. Where when I look at Glover, I see that becoming Billy D. Williams. Mm-hmm. Taylor, what do you feel about Lando? Because Taylor, we're gonna tell us on news. Taylor is just like furious at the idea that they may be making a Lando movie, but
You know?
Give us this fucking movie.
I actually agree with Taylor on most of his points for this.
If you would right
Because
now,
I don't think you should, in a series like Star Wars, base a movie off of an actor as opposed to a character, which feels like a lot of it.
true, but a lot of the buzz after that was coming out because this movie was screening and people were like, "Hey, it's the Obi-Wan effect where it's like, yeah, it's the timing, right? Because This Is America happened and he's huge." But I still feel like people would be saying that because he is the highlight of this movie, and most of the time, like, look at Civil War. We knew Spider-Man was coming, but if we didn't, we'd be like, I want a Spider-Man movie right now, right? Like, I feel like he has that effect in this movie where it's like, I want to see Lando more. And this is what I'll throw to Dylan before I go to you. If you have the table to see a Lando movie or a Solo 2, which ticket do you take? And Lando's not in Solo 2. No, I'm asking you which one would you go
No,
to?
yeah, definitely be.
Yeah.
I would take a Kira movie over a Han Solo too, to be honest.
If I guess me Darth Maul, then I'll agree with you. Yeah. But Taylor, Lando hater.
I've never said I was a Lando
Oh
hater.
yeah,
Never in my
all
life.
these texts I
He
have.
has never said it.
Honestly, I like Lando. I think he's a very cool character. I think, Mr. Glover did a fantastic.
Oh,
Give him the
Dump it.
respect. Yeah.
Honestly, he delivered the role. Fantastic, amazing job. That was Lando as far as I'm concerned. That was 100% Lando Calrissian on the screen. We'll get into him getting his own movie
GeekVerse news.
in another situation.
Do you not feel it's similar though to Ewan and Obi, where you just look at it and you're like, damn, that's perfect. Like, and for me, I'm showing that to you because like I feel like that's a big reason why you want Obi-Wan movies, because you have an actor who can play that. And that's how I feel Glover did this. This was his Obi-Wan moment of like, man, like they captured lightning in a bottle. We spent half an hour talking about how Alden, like, oh yeah, he did all right, but like not all of us 100% feel like, except you. You said that you did end up feeling it was 100% Han Solo, but I feel like we all went like, we never got to that point where it's like, oh, he was just electric on the screen, Where Glover, he was, and maybe it's because writing, the screen time, I don't know, but either way, it's the way the...
I'm curious how screen time has an effect on it, right? Because Lando wasn't really in it. I thought he was going to be in it more, and I think
he's been on 1/3 of the movie, I'd say, right? If you were to go like divide that.
Yeah, it felt like less than that to me.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't in it for the first 40 minutes to an hour or something.
Yeah.
Also, I couldn't believe that movie was 2.5 hours. Like, it did feel long, but when you said that at the start of the cast, I was kind of surprised me.
Didn't need to be. This
Oh,
would be a
man,
nice
I got
solid
it.
2-hour movie.
I got to the movie and I thought, I looked at the time, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's 10.
Why is it 10 o'clock right now?
Yeah.
This makes no sense to me.
What was your question again that you asked me?
I think I just asked you if it was some
My
other
bad.
Obi-Wan or something, but it's fine. You
I
can just
think-
round out your thoughts on Glover and Lando.
Well,
because we're going to talk about more on news.
I think that when you look at a character like Obi-Wan, that he fit into the role. Ewan McGregor fit in perfectly into that role, 110%. And yes, I do want Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, absolutely. I'll touch on it just a little bit. With Lando, he is 100% Lando. Do I want a Lando movie at some point in time? Yes, but not just because he, great actor. Let's give him his movie following Han Solo right away.
But that's why I'm
Cutting
asking
out
you in
all
this.
the other characters and features of the Han Solo movie and just giving Lando his own movie as its own standalone sequel.
That's why I'm asking you in this review now, because now you've seen the performance and you can say, oh, it's great. So it's not like it would have been like, oh yeah, it was just fine. It's like, oh, we really want to push Donald Glover. It's like, we've seen it. It's like, oh, well, he did a great job, so I want to see more. And I think in your mind, you think they're going to make this movie come out like tomorrow. Like, there's going to be other Star Wars movies that happen.
And then, yes, but no, when we were debating,
Breaking news.
when we were debating, you were making, it's just, you're right, I was defending it like, fuck, this movie's coming out like next, no Star Wars 9, it's going to be Lando. Like, I don't want this to happen. Space it out a little bit, Give us Boba, give us Obi-Wan. Then I'm totally okay with that, I want variety and not so much of the same thing so close back to back. It just doesn't feel right.
But that's where with Glover, I will argue that he was in this movie, but anytime Lando was on the screen, it felt different. Like that, to me,
I
it
think
feels
it
like
could-
if he got his movie, it's gonna feel different. It's not gonna feel like Solo 2.0.
Yeah, but then they're
You have to. If he gets a movie, he's probably going to be writing like part of the writing crew as well.
He
so that
could
would probably
direct
have a
it.
pretty big effect on
Yeah.
it. Has he directed?
He directs a bunch of stuff for Atlanta.
Oh, he directs that as well. I thought he
And
was just
obviously,
writing.
like, probably has a lot to do with his music video as well. So I think in the next 5 years, either Star Wars or Marvel, he's gonna direct one of those movies.
Okay.
And
Then you know what? Like, give him that opportunity, but it's like I said before, like, what Disney should do is make the movie based on specific characters and let those characters be successful and let those actors grow. Don't make a movie based on just because they have a fantastic actor. That being said, let Donald Glover. He did a huge amount of justice for the Solo movie, and let him have that success with this. It'll build up hype and more anticipation for his movie.
But
I'm really curious
at
what they do with because I would actually be super down for Lando's movie to go into these storylines that we were talking about, and we don't have to have a scene of Darth Maul fighting Lando for Darth Maul being the movie. I think people would be cool with like just another storyline going on that Lando maybe is loosely tied to or something, but just because like that's the timeline they're discussing and they brought it up in a previous movie, and you can have Han Solo in that movie as well. And he can have
demoted.
The same, yeah, he can have. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't see any problem. I think that could be fun.
I don't think it is because it's weird because we talk about it, like Marvel does it all the time, right? Where people pop in and stuff. It's just because it hasn't happened in Star Wars. It's like strange to see, and like what you said, like it's not that it's like, oh, you gotta force it out, but you also gotta strike while the iron's hot. You don't want to wait years and years. You don't want to be like people be like, hey, so when is Man of Steel 2 happening? Like you want to make it, like you want to like you. I still think we're gonna get to a place where we get 2 Star Wars films a year, which I'm very uneasy about right now. But I think there's
the Assassin's Creed of the movie industry.
Oh boy, I think I think him being very popular is just a slice. I think when we talked about that,
wow.
I think him being
He's got some sick vertigo thing with that.
Oh god. I think him being good in this movie is another slice. I think him being like a different tone in this movie is a good slice. And I think that I brought this up in the group chat when we talk about stuff that's different and whatnot. There's not been a Star Wars movie with like a black male lead or black female lead, right? So it's like on the surface, like, oh, it's just Lando, but really that's huge for Star Wars to have some sort of movie like that, right? Where we just got Rey and I almost call her Felicity Jones. What's her name? Jyn Erso. So like I think there's more.
But you don't count Finn as a main character though.
He's not the lead. The lead to me is the biggest person on the poster. Finn is not the biggest person on the poster. He's
but
on
the movie started with Finn though. What did you say?
That doesn't mean he's the lead.
It doesn't. No, it started with some old guy saying this is going to fix everything. So is he the lead in Force Awakens? The guy that Kylo just chops down? No, he's not the lead.
You got Rogue One.
I'm just saying. I think my problem with your argument is I agree with you. If it was just because Glover's popular, yeah, but because after this movie, I think there's more to it than just he's just
that's
popular.
true.
You know, like that's my. And I don't think it's gonna be. They're not gonna fast track it to come out in 2 weeks. You know.
Then I'm okay with that. I'll drop one good little Lando fact here. In the Millennium Falcon, he actually has a statue of Cloud City. You guys caught that?
No, I didn't. But that's
cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
That's
yeah.
Cool. I wanted to mention this before we move off Lando because I know I think you mentioned it in the Facebook group or something. But there's talk about Lando's sort of sexuality being touched upon.
He's pansexual.
Yeah. Did I miss something oblivious? Am I completely oblivious to something?
He's banging a robot.
He's fucking the robot.
L3 said it wasn't happening though.
No, but even
she said
I think she was saying a relationship isn't happening. And the way
they were definitely banging.
And even if they weren't banging, you could tell he cared for her.
Yeah.
So and the way
I figured there might have been something going on there, but I wasn't sure if that was like what they were talking about or if there's something else that.
And the way he called Solo and Beckett like baby all the time, they're really insane, which was fine because if some people are mad about, you look at the original trilogy. One in Star Wars, I think everyone should be pansexual because. Let's be honest. If we're there, we're gonna fuck some aliens. Yeah, we're gonna fuck some aliens. There's a lot of
liberties to be taken.
Yeah, and then too, like he just oozes sexuality in the original trilogy, and like he did that in this. So yeah, he's they didn't. There's no hardcore scene of him banging the robot, but I think L3
there should have been
much more subtle. But
Disney, what are you doing?
I just
normalized robots.
Extended cut. Yeah. I'll tell Akira a bit because you guys take the floor. I liked her enough. I thought Amelia Clark did a good job, but I just didn't really love the storyline of like a Han having a big love, and I think you guys already touched upon it perfectly that they played the mysterious card way too many times. Like she would just go back and forth in scenes, and like when she would like turn on Han, and then she was with Vaz, and then like she had that sword moment. It's like, oh, she's gonna get Han, and no, she gets him, and like, oh no, might kill Han, and I was like. Okay, like over the top.
Between that and stacking that with all the Woody Harrelson's character, what's his name again?
Tobias Beckett.
Yeah, like all the twists jammed into that one segment. Like, oh man, that was way too much. So
and lots of them are very obvious too. Like Beckett walked through the door when they're like, "She's not the girl gave the information," and they literally wait on the door for like 10 seconds. Like, who do you think it's gonna be? Like.
Darth Maul.
We've met nobody else.
It's like
gonna
Dora the Explorer when it like pauses. What do you think's gonna
Well, yeah, it's like we all know Beckett's gonna walk
Ever in the
like.
theater.
Yeah.
But he should have been Chewie and be like, holy fuck, and then the twists were so lame. But yeah, I think there's a potential for a good character there, but for me, it was just she was
Yeah,
fine.
honestly,
No.
like a big thing is just the acting. I think she's a really, really good actress,
Mhm.
and it just like had me curious the whole time. It's just, I just really hate how they ended her character off.
Oh
really,
no, I
'cause
100% agree.
the
with
mystery.
you,
I
yeah.
think they should have just tackled it like as the story was progressing. I think it's a character that I just want to like more than I can. That's the same thing I'd say about Raw or what's his name, Bennett.
Beckett.
I was thinking of Everett Ross or some reason more.
Everett Ross. Roz from Monsters Inc.
Um,
That's who comes through the thing.
That's the same thing where I want to like that character and there's some
Yes.
interesting
Oh,
potential
so-
stories there, but then it really there's just not enough as like from what I saw in this movie to build off of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think
Does a sequel help potentially your like or dislike for her down the line?
for all these characters, obviously,
Yeah.
if they come back, then I mean retroactively, who am I, like if they flesh that character out more and really they were long conning the mystery on her character and because they really had a thought out plan with it instead of just like. Let's just do it for this movie and we'll see what the next writers
Yeah,
can come
no.
up with and see if they can come up with something cool.
Well, because the problem
Because
is
we've already seen how that can be kind of a problem with Force Awakens to The Last Jedi, and then there's two different writers, directors have different ideas, and then you just have like scrambled like, okay, well I don't know if that was worth
Well-
building up with that payoff.
And honestly, that could be some of the problems with this movie because that happened in this movie, right? Half the movie was shot by different directors and half of it was shot by another. So it's like it literally.
To be
in this
fair, I
movie-
could not tell as the moviegoer that there was two different directors behind
But
the movie.
that could be the problem. So when
Yeah.
you're talking about these writing inconsistency, that could
It's
be
true.
a thing where it's like.
It's just I've seen it done much worse when you have multiple directors. Justice League, prime example.
What?
You can see that there's like clearly 5 different movies in one there. Somehow stitched together makes
For
up
the fans,
zombie.
Travis was being sarcastic. 'cause
No,
I'm
not
very
at all.
convincing.
I couldn't tell at all. What was I gonna say? The other thing with Kira is like, if we don't get a Solo 2 and we never see this character again, what a fucking lackluster ending this is, you know?
I agree.
100%.
Because
Yeah.
to be honest, like, I'm breaking the fourth wall here. We usually don't do this on news. Like the movie is like not, it's kind of below expectations. So there's a part of me that worries: do we not see Kira ever again? If we don't, then it's like, this was it, and this is her character, and it's like, okay, I guess Darth
Yeah.
Maul's really scary and had her as a slave or like as a as a person
Yeah.
under her thumb, under his thumb. But it's like,
It is too bad. I really liked seeing how she knew everyone in this movie, like from
Yeah.
previous encounters or they've heard of each other. Like when
Mhm.
she just knows Lando and
She knew like everyone.
yeah,
and
But
Beckett's like,
there's,
don't
like-
trust her.
Yeah, there's like no backing to why she knew all these things. I
like you
feel
can
like
kind of piece it together. I don't know, not really. Like, you kind of just have to make up something in
it's
your
like
head.
it's like
Yeah.
figure it out in
That's
your
right, the movie.
imagination. Exactly. It's like it's like I don't know. But on that character, I feel like I really I agree with you. I really wanted to like her.
Mhm.
Emilia Clarke, she's a phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
And she did really well with what she was given. But like how you said, like the whole movie, it's leading to like, oh, like what's her backstory? What's this? And then it just deflates, and it's like, what the hell was the point of even having that character? Like it was just so poorly done at the end.
Because
And-
even when
Yeah,
they build
exactly.
up, even when they build up, she's like, I've done some terrible things. And when Han,
That triggered me so much. They say it like 3 times.
well, this is what I was hoping. I was hoping one that we're gonna be revealed the whole time that she was like willingly married to Vaz and like she's doing these terrible things, and then Han would. That's why to me it would have been perfect for Han to fall in love with her and be like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
willing to go around like cutting people's tongues out, like you're fucked up, like what happened to you? But even when he learns about this, they don't talk about it ever, and he's just still like, I gotta get it, I gotta
He's
save
all
her.
happy,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just like. You're not even like, hey, did you cut any of those people's tongues? No, okay, that's fine. Then let's move on. But he doesn't even talk to her about it. Like, they're literally insinuating that they're like raping and pillaging like places and planets and doing these terrible shit. But it's just like, and she looks. They flash this scene. And she looks really guilty, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the breaking point. No, they don't. The surface level stuff.
And
just-
also the fact that like the whole time after since Han like meets her again, she doesn't seem to have like any interest in him necessarily. Like she's kind of
She's wavering.
she's wavering. She's kind of oh gosh, what's the word? Where I don't know. I don't know why you guys know the word.
Yeah.
My thought process, but
If
she
if you
seems like
explain
she's kind of
further,
like
maybe I
playing
can
with
figure
him,
it out.
and she's just kind of going along with him to kind of keep him happy. And she's just kind of I don't know. She's like
Playing him a
throwing
little.
him bones and stuff,
Yeah.
but
Throwing them bones.
just because she doesn't feel like being a dick to him.
Yeah.
But, like the whole time, and then they do the kiss scene and stuff, and it's like, but
And it's
this
what-
whole time she
yeah.
hasn't like been into him at all, and she's actually seems like against it.
And you don't
Yeah.
get the sense of like, because I thought they were gonna almost do like a Romeo Juliet thing, like like his old girl is the boss's girl, and like the like can't love her because this and that, but it's like. And even her, like, some pushback, like, hey, I can't do this because I'm his wife, even though I don't want to be. But she's just full on, like, they're making out and talking about plans
It's
and
that
doing
hair,
shit.
man.
Well,
Makes
yeah.
you do bad things.
And I just never got the sense, too, of, like, yeah, like Briggs was pointing out, like, is she playing Han? Does she really want to be with Han? And we never really get that sense. Like, I wish we even got the sense where she does really want to be with Han, but because Maul might kill him, like, because she's gonna not be around. This is a prequel, so something has to happen to her. So I guess she leaves him, but like I want more of that reason, and maybe we find out down the line. But.
And also, there's like the 3 years past. Her character doesn't feel like she's changed, even though clearly, a lot is mentioned. She's done some shitty things. So.
Cutting people's tongues over 1,000 days. She was branded, yeah.
The way I like to see it is she's written as that friend who you always ask out to like your events and stuff, and you're just like, hey, come join us, we're doing a thing, and they say like, yeah, maybe, but then they never show up at the last moment, and they just kind of keep leading you on, but they never. They always go off and do their own thing. They always have some excuse. Maybe they're helping the grandma move. Maybe. Maybe they're in Vancouver.
Oh, wow, going with a deep cut on this one.
Jeez,
OG GeekVerse.
I didn't realize this is going towards me.
Yeah, so it's very, very meh, the character.
Yeah.
I feel very meh right now.
I feel like we really repaid the favor.
It's okay,
going
you
to
haven't
the
done
West
this for
Side
a whole
to see
movie.
this movie.
That's true.
We didn't review it there though.
And have we been invited to review it on? I'm not gonna go there.
Taylor, you have anything I don't care? Or?
I think she was great. I don't think I needed to know her whole origin story. It was very lacking. What?
What?
You did.
Origin story?
Yeah, that's
I
what
feel like
was
she
her
barely
origin
had
story.
an origin story.
Yeah, we didn't know any origin
Yeah,
story.
we still don't know anything
Wait,
about
wait, that's what you
I
didn't
didn't
know.
I didn't need to know it though. So I mean,
But didn't you need to know like if she was really with Han or wanted to be with Han?
No.
I need to know
I
where
didn't
she
know.
got the name Kira from. That's
I
the
didn't
only
need
thing
to know
that's-
that
Sort of
because
the cue as well.
the whole
Yeah,
the
I
whole
didn't know,
course
yeah.
the whole course of the movie, you don't know if she is or if she isn't, and I'm totally okay with that. It's not
What if she's
Kira
raised
Star
Maul?
Wars story. What?
What if she's raised Maul?
Oh, fuck off.
Oh,
Who's the father?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul.
Let's go.
How do you think Shmi? How do you
Next
think?
movie, she has like little inklings of horns growing over her head.
How do you think Shmi had Anakin by herself? Remember, she said there was no father.
Immaculate
So.
conception.
Lando.
Yeah.
Lando.
Yikes. Read the Bible, Travis.
No, I liked her as a character. Emilia Clarke, she's fantastic. She's very, she brings her A game onto the screen.
Brings her
and
A
it's
game.
great. Yeah,
That's
so-
all you can really ask.
That's all you
She
can
shows
ask.
up. She does the job.
She gets paid.
Yeah.
Cut the check. I think that
Off the Jack Maul.
I didn't need to know what her intentions were and her plans were with Solo, but I think it delivered. I was expecting her.
Really?
I knew
You're
she.
content with her ending. You're content. If that's all you ever get from that character.
No, in the movie I'm content with her character. I do want more in another movie or another form. I really hope they don't write her
But
off
what
into
if
the
you
animated
don't?
series.
Yeah.
If I don't get anything, then at that time when we come to that bridge, I will be upset and I will.
Retroactively. Guys, can we redo that review? I want
It's just
Fair enough.
there's so many loose points with this movie ending on a cliffhanger that I have to wait till I come to that bridge, and when I come to it, then I'll be like, okay, let's carry on, or I'll come back and be like, fuck.
No, fair enough. Because I'm the same way with Maul. Like I'm like, there's some room for me to like.
Every time you
this
say
eventually.
Maul, I think of the wife in Inception. That's like the first thing that comes to mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Instead of Darth
Now it
Maul.
didn't for
I'm
me,
used
but
to
now
people
it
saying
does.
Darth Maul,
Maul!
So if you just say Maul, it's
DM.
throwing me
I'm
off.
for DM.
DM. That's my initials.
Boy,
actually,
DM.
so.
He's gonna slide in your DMs, alright.
Hey. With this double-sided. Anyway.
Beckett, I'm really happy Christian Bale did not play this because he was supposed to and something happened. So I'm really happy that did not
He went
happen.
off and made that. What was that other movie he was in recently that everyone kind of forgot about? Anyone see it?
Hostels?
Yeah.
Hostiles.
Hostiles?
Was it good?
That's a good movie. You should watch it.
Hey, thank you.
Is it? I saw mixed reviews.
Hey.
No, you didn't
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
to the right people. Surface level character, everything's surface level with him. He loses his wife, seems really upset. Next scene, doesn't give a shit
Yeah.
about her. He lays
What
the...
was the thing he was gonna learn to play? What did he keep saying? Was
The
it
battle call.
the battle?
Battle chord.
Don't know
The
that.
battle
chord.
How do you know? How do you remember?
It's like a
that?
chord instrument,
Yeah.
but there's some
Because he
sort of
said
ballad
chord,
involved.
I thought he was like doing keys at one point.
Yeah.
I don't
He
know.
totally was, but he doesn't know how to play it. That's why he has to take the lessons.
Maybe you key the strings, because I mean,
Maybe each
why would they have
That'd be a
chord
hard
key is a
instrument
chord,
name?
and that's why it's called a
That
battle
is
chord.
true.
Him and Han don't really connect. It's just like, hey... They're like,
Please.
I'm trying to keep us on fucking the
No,
train
that's a
track
good
here.
idea, yeah. Please, this has already been very long.
It is true.
They're just like, hey, you lost your wife, we need money, we're friends now, yeah, we're a crew, no bonding, not even some, like, I just watched Django recently, and they do a great montage of Django and the dentist going on all these, like, missions together and hunting out people, and you see them bonding, and you don't see that, they don't have long conversation, but you get the sense of, like, okay, they're a gang now, or this is just, like, they're just friends now, they're just the best of buddies. He lays it on as thick as chocolate icing and like, hey, don't trust anybody, you'll turn on everybody. That's my motto. Like, don't trust anybody, they won't disappoint you. Oh, guess what? That's gonna be the guy who betrays you. What a
But I think they were
surprise. Waka
pushing it for the
waka.
girl though. I think that's what they were trying to make the viewer think.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
still thought, oh, look, he's gonna fuck over Han. And then, look,
I didn't think that. I
and then
thought
what
his goal was
happens?
that.
Oh, who walks out in the 10-second door
I
frame?
thought
It's
his goal was
Beckett.
that.
Yeah.
And then they try and do this emotional scene where in many movies that works. So, like, he kills the guy who's his mentor, he's moving on, but it did not hit at all. I was really disappointed. Woody Harrelson is a top talent guy. Look at what he did in Apes last year. I'm excited to see him in Venom, but this was, and he wasn't bad. This was purely a writing thing. There's nothing. He was entertaining, but yeah, won a lot more and didn't get it, and he's just a forgettable character.
There were a couple lines where it just felt like his heart wasn't in it either. Like there's minimal emotion. He's just like
From acting or writing?
from Woody Harrelson himself.
Uh-huh.
It's like he wasn't even on screen. It just, you like
Just-
hear
he
it, like
just
it, like
felt-
cut away from him and you
he
hear him
just felt
yelling.
no
on-
emotional impact.
And
He
it's
just felt
just
on
like
set.
he's just like it felt like he was just like reading from the script, just like
See, I
in,
won't
like,
say
a-
that. Yeah.
No,
casual.
I think he was the only acting for me that like fell short. It seemed like he just didn't really give a shit. Which, you know, maybe you should. You know, Star
Maybe his
Wars kind of
character.
has a reputation.
maybe he was
Uh,
like,
it
this
was all
movie
right
sucks,
for
but
me.
I'm getting paid, so. Yeah.
I mean, it certainly wasn't not writing. Like, there was also that as well. I completely agree that I found it hard to have any sort of emotional connection with him because of what you said about his wife character and then how they were just friends. And then, like, that scene at the end when he, like, shoots him and then he's like, oh, he goes and, like, carries him in those last moments. I was like, what?
You
Like, why?
watch me.
I was very confused. I didn't understand, like, why this was happening. I didn't feel like that was warranted
No.
at all. So
I
it
feel
was
like
kinda
Han.
sad.
I really want Han just to walk away and just be like, yeah, you're gonna die alone.
Yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you're a
yeah,
piece of
I
shit.
So,
love
like
that.
what you were saying, how like going back to like how you're referencing Django and how they didn't really have like big scenes, but they were like bonding.
Yeah.
You know, like didn't have to talk a lot. Like I feel like if they had more of that, then him like holding him, it would have had more meaning.
Oh,
But it just
100%.
didn't really make sense. Like it was just
They had no buddy moments.
yeah, exactly.
And especially, what is the timeline from when they do the train heist? Which I actually did like the train heist scene. I thought that was some good action and score. I like that.
Yeah.
But like, what is the timeline from that and when Beckett dies? Like when they meet everybody, boss. Like, is that a few days?
Probably a couple hours.
Definitely was not within 24 hours.
No, like, but
A couple
even then, was
days.
it
Maybe
like
a week.
it didn't need to be that way because it
No.
moves so quickly. So for me, like him to be holding this guy's arm while he dies, like it's only been a few days and he already
didn't
fucked
teach
you
him that
over.
much. He just told him don't
No,
trust
no,
anyone.
He gave him a
exactly.
gun.
Yeah, he gave him a
That's true.
gun. Yeah, and he told him don't trust anybody. Which like I feel like Han. I don't know, I guess Han gets that moment where he doesn't trust Beck. He's like, well, people are predictable. It's like, okay, you did that, but like,
Well, he did give him Chewie because remember he did screw him over and send him to the
fair
beast.
enough. Yep. He's the reason.
This is true.
Yep.
Wait, what?
'Cause remember he called him a deserter, and then that's why they threw him in the prison with the beast.
That was
I did like when
insane.
they were pulling him away, and he's like, and don't believe anything he says. He's a complete liar. Just because he knew that, you know, Woody was a shady guy, so
Uh-huh.
I liked that. So.
That's kind of fun.
And,
What other characters?
oh, I just want to hear why Taylor loved Beckett.
Oh, okay.
I love him, do I?
This is a
I love
prediction.
him, do I?
He definitely did not. Yeah, I liked him actually.
His finger flipping guns. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Honestly-
Honestly, he saw that. He was like, I want to be that guy.
No,
You need to teach me how to do that.
no
You never
jetpack.
taught Han how to do that. That
No
could have been a
jetpack.
great bonding moment. How
No,
to
I
flip
don't.
the
I don't
gun.
want Han to be flipping around guns or shit.
I agree, but
Honestly-
could have happened.
All your impressions have involved someone looking up, like with their
Like
neck
Jesus.
crunched.
I just imagine that they're those
They have no
shorter-
neck.
No neck.
Yeah.
Nicholas Creepy.
No, I enjoyed Beckett. I
Oh,
think.
fuck.
What?
Dylan just reminded me of that fucking
Oh, the
mob boss at
snake.
the beginning of the,
The
movie.
snake.
Oh
Oh,
god.
right.
Oh, no. I actually forgot.
Han, where's my money? Like, she literally had no neck. And
Oh,
like,
you forgot your paperwork.
yeah, that was prequel shit to the finest. That fucking
Prequel
sucked.
shit to the
thermal
finest.
detonator. That's a rock.
Yeah.
You made
Good
that.
flash
with your-
or shout out though to Leia in Return of the Jedi.
In an awful scene with an
What?
awful creature.
Leia threatens Jabba with a thermal detonator.
Doesn't she actually have one though?
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't
Yeah.
have a rock.
Which I think is cool. It makes you think like maybe Han was sharing Leia or sharing.
Oh, he was.
Oh.
He was sharing Leia with Luke, that's for sure. Everyone knows
The
that.
thing is, it didn't work out at all for him. Why would he share that story?
worked out.
No.
No, and it
Not
didn't
the
work out
thermal
for Leia
detonator.
either. She gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
It would have worked, but she blew her cover. That's her own fault.
Yeah, it's her
Yeah,
fault.
taking her mask
Goddamn
out of the
Leia.
fucking cantina.
Exactly.
What are you thinking? Come on now.
But anyways, back to Beckett. Yes.
Back to Beckett.
I think he.
That's his movie.
Can't wait.
I think I liked him.
Saul.
I thought a lot of his moments on screen I enjoyed. It sucks his wife died, but he moved on apparently. So.
No, he didn't care. You shouldn't care either.
That's the same mindset he had. Oh, it sucks my wife died. Moving on. Move on.
Fine, brother.
I got the valve cord.
I loved all the fight scenes he was in when he was on top of the train during the heist, and I don't know what kind of stormtroopers they were called up to look in the visual novel, but
Just stormtroopers.
they're all specifics
No,
though.
yeah, they're
They're
specific.
shore
Yeah,
troopers,
there are.
stormtroopers,
Snow
like
troopers.
snow troopers,
Train troopers.
train troopers. I
Train
love
The
troopers.
it.
hard joint troopers.
Hard joint.
Yeah,
Hard.
like they have
Hard.
like trouble.
The robo boots.
Robo trooper.
Oh, that was actually
Chrome.
sick.
Chrome swag soldier.
Magneto troopers. Magna troopers.
Okay,
that's the
moving
ones.
on.
Move along.
So yeah, they I think that was fantastic. The whole train heist scene. He's like dodging and deaking and duking and stuff.
Duking.
He was standing still a lot in shooting.
But he was
hid
also
behind.
dodging, deaking,
Yeah,
and
it's-
duking.
okay.
So.
Okay.
I really enjoyed when they were on the wires and stuff when
Yeah, me.
they're hanging from the side of the train and everything and they're just like this.
I did like the train.
I liked
was
it.
really well
If
choreographed.
maybe like make it 2 to 3 minutes shorter.
I also want to
Every
live longer.
scene-
Like just
It
take a
was
couple
best
train
in
cars
on
off,
that scene.
and then it will shorten itself naturally.
One thing with that scene that kind of irked me was when his
Time
wife
break.
was pinned down by the Viper droids. So this is the
Pull it
building.
out for us. You haven't
So-
drank any of your water, by the way.
I know.
You got the big cup.
I'm
This
gonna
is-
take it because I'm thirsty.
I need my tower back, Travis. So
Just kidding.
there you go. So this is a
Hang
tower.
on.
This is the girl.
Yeah,
Yikes.
yeah.
There's children watching, I'm sure. Let's
No.
not go
No,
there.
it's not. Come on
We're
now.
rated explicit.
So-
Hey, guess what? Jesus isn't real.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was.
But
So-
cheese is.
So this is that's really good.
Aye.
So this is
Taylor,
the
go
tower.
on.
This
Come on.
is
Tell us the story.
the
Please,
motherfucking
Taylor.
tower.
The
This
motherfucking
is
better be good.
this is good.
better
This
be
is
good.
good.
How
This
are
is a major
the, how
plot.
are the just the listeners only gonna
That's
feel
why you go
about
to
this
YouTube,
analogy?
subscribe,
Yeah.
Taylor
Podcast
doesn't give a
YouTube,
shit
subscribe.
about the listeners.
No, he
So-
doesn't. He's proven
Every episode is proven.
the
that he doesn't
listeners
care.
are like Beckett's wife to take. He's all about the viewer. He's all about the
Okay.
visual aid.
So for the listeners and the viewers, there is Tyler's water bottle here. This is the tower, but then the train hasn't reached there yet. Beckett's wife is in front of the tower, behind it, I don't know. And then there's two Viper droids standing there.
Viper
That's
droids.
how they
She
wrote the
says-
script too. I don't know. she's
They're
not a cat.
opposite side of the tower with two Viper droids. And she says, I'm pinned down. Why doesn't one Viper droid swoop around while she doesn't have a gun
Bothered
and
me
just
a
pop
lot.
her?
Yeah,
Just
that's-
pop her.
That's that classic Star
Poor
Wars.
programming.
It is-
Why in Last
it
Jedi
is.
do we spend a whole movie of ships just following each other? One could have used like hyper speed and gone in front of one. Cut
It
them
would have
off.
outran that again, and it would have the shields.
But
would
it could
protect
still
it.
be in front of it.
or like lobbing lasers.
Star
in
Wars.
space.
Don't bring in the
Plot holes.
yeah.
Yeah, plot hole at its finest. But I mean, I'm willing to overlook it because she died anyways. So
Aye.
Well, if you're gonna kill her, why
Yeah.
not kill her in a way that makes more sense?
yeah, true.
Instead, she just sacrificed herself. I don't think she really needed to.
No, I don't think you need that visual aid either. You could explain.
It really helped me a lot, actually. I feel like I understand the scene better. I went to so that other pilot, the dude with 4 arms. You love
The
that guy,
Ordinian!
right? And you love that guy for the exact same reasons you love Bad Ape from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That was my hard read getting out of the movie for Taylor.
Played by Jon Favreau.
He was
Rio, I think his name is, right?
in the movie.
Dejanero.
In the movie, no, Jon Favreau goes by fucking Rio.
I don't know his
What
personal
do you-
life.
what do you-
I don't know.
Oh,
He's
John,
come to
that's
dinner a
wrong.
couple times with JJ.
Actually, next time you put director of Iron Man, please
Director.
put directed by
Rio.
Rio in the movie. What does that even mean?
Which movie? This one? Or Apes?
Jon Favreau played Rio, the 4-arm guy.
Oh, yeah,
He
that's-
directed Iron
Ordinian's
Man.
name
He
is
started
Rio.
the
That's what we're getting at
MCU, but
here.
apparently he goes by Rio in his spare time. So in the movie,
It's his
Yeah.
nighttime name.
I can't say that name every time.
yeah.
Well, I
Friends call me
really.
Rio.
That's longer than John.
All right, John.
You
And
don't
then-
have all those letters in your name.
Yeah, and then when they put him in this movie, like the character has to be named Rio. Like, oh fuck.
Rio Favreau.
No, I really enjoyed him. I thought he was great. I hate that he died, but you know, let's go for it.
And that
so.
awful line.
He had the most heart out of that whole crew.
He did.
I know.
He's the reason that
Just
Han
so
got onto the,
confused.
he's the reason Han got onto the crew. He convinced Beckett.
Yeah.
Even though Beckett listened to this alien over his own wife, so you know, I think you know that.
And he obviously didn't give a shit about
There's
what
some
we're doing.
loyalty.
Yeah, so-
I'm glad you
sad.
said I'm glad you said the wife because you were playing with some real race issues there for a second because you're like and you just listen to this alien and I was like I don't know if you want to do this or not. But then you said over his wife you saved yourself so whose boat
And
was
then you
it?
potentially sewered him right back.
Yeah.
Classic
This
Travis
is
Taylor
fucking
fashion.
alien.
Aye,
Oh.
aye, aye.
Do we have anything else to say about this movie? Because I'm ready to move along. from-
Alright, let me check my notes.
Yeah, me too. I got some. You know what? While everyone's checking their notes, let's just do a fucking crawl because they did
No
a crawl
shit.
without doing
I
a
was so
crawl.
Did they do a
about
crawl,
that.
crawl with Rogue One?
Well, no, they didn't. It just was like boom, Rogue One, and then
Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't mind this.
no, that was
I
lame.
thought there was
That
a
one, it
crawl
should've
with
just been a
one.
No, there wasn't.
It should.
They literally did a crawl, but they just didn't make it move. And instead of scrolling down plot, they just like transitioned into it. And the crawl like that didn't do anything, but just like do the crawl, give me the fucking music. Like if the crawl's not gonna like they didn't need to do a crawl because this didn't say anything. But if they're gonna do the beginning of the movie of 30 seconds as all text, then just do a crawl. It was stupid. It was lame.
I don't know.
Fuck this.
For me, I
Yeah.
just
Fuck
felt-
you, anthology movies. Where's George Lucas?
I like it. He helped with
He
some
tried-
of Han Solo's acting and stuff like that.
Oh,
Oh,
he's playing
George Lucas,
everything.
get out of here.
Oh,
I don't want you, but
hang on.
That explains it all.
Oh,
Man, the
no.
guy who delivered us Hayden Christensen.
Honestly-
saying it's Coruscant Ruff. From my
Honestly-
point of view, the Jedi are evil.
You
That's-
guys
that's
bash him, but honestly, he direct. From what I'm aware,
He
of,
directed
helped with
one good Star
No,
Wars movie.
You're assuming
Fuck
what I was gonna
off.
say. He helped direct a one piece of Han Solo's scene in this movie, from what I'm aware of. In the scene where he was in the locker or the locker room,
Hey,
He was-
Alden.
he was in the. He was,
Hey, hang on. Let's take two. Let me do my George. Hey, Alden, how's it going there? That's my George Lucas. It's actually not that
Hey.
bad. He sounds like
Yeah?
a sad Kermit.
You know, I'll take
Oh,
it.
my
Okay.
Sad
People
Kermit.
just hate a Jar Jar, and I don't know why.
I don't
And
know
he
his
actually
voice.
has no neck either. Go look it
oh
up.
my god.
What happened to his neck?
Okay, so
Fucking schmelting accident.
Anyways, moving on.
they wanted to originally when he was in.
Settle down.
He was, when Han Solo was in the room
Han Solo.
with Kira and she was trying on the capes
Oh.
and she turns around. Originally, Han Solo was supposed to just take the cape, put it away, and just go right in and be all lovey-dovey. But George Lucas implied that no, Han Solo needs to kind of talk it and ease into it and just not care about putting the cape back right away, but kind of ease in the conversation and just kind of build up a little bit of the tension. Like he really, I feel like he had tried looking at Han
I
Solo.
kind of feel like that's the exact opposite of Han Solo. I feel like Han Solo would have just
No,
gone in there,
why would Han Solo
throw
go-
the cape away.
I feel like any
Yeah.
sane person would say you should
Yeah.
probably transition into a scene instead of just having it. So,
I,
George Lucas.
no, I think
Thumbs up
that's a
to you.
valid one. I'll give it to Taylor because even Leia, the way he like talks to her Empire, he like comes to her and he's
He's
talking.
like
his
leaning
whole-
on
Yeah.
the door.
So that's what he did for this movie. Is he coached
That's
up
all
the
they'll
scene.
let him do.
From what I'm aware, that's all, apparently. Unless they let him
He's a pretty
they-
expensive acting coach. He charges a lot.
But yeah, going back though to when we changed conversation there, the
You changed. Don't
no,
put we.
I was talking about the crawl.
None of us brought up George Lucas though. You're just like,
He was
hey,
talking about the
George.
show.
Yeah.
And I wanted to chime in, but when did George
Chime
Lucas
in.
come into play?
It
Why
doesn't matter.
at all?
It doesn't matter.
I
back
think
to the film.
the fact that with the score opening up with that, I think it was
Ugh.
fantastic. You know, that
Ugh.
change from the original score with the episodic films, I think the dark tone and then just showing that brief 15 seconds of font, I think it was fantastic.
Nothing like some good font. Just
This is
A
your
dark
fault,
score.
Taylor or Dylan.
These movies don't feel dark to me though.
No.
Problem. No.
How do you? Because you're a crawl hater, Dylan. What do you feel?
I'm not a crawl hater. I'm just a
yes.
hater of the crawl for the sake of tradition. You know, and I don't really think it needed to be in this movie to explain anything at the beginning. So
But if you're gonna do
Yeah, if
that,
you're gonna do
you might
flashing
as
text,
well do the
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. If you only have two, they had what? 2 lines?
They had
Three,
four.
4 lines. That's not enough to warrant.
Yeah,
a
you can
The
do
crawl
that.
is like 7 paragraphs.
No,
It's
it's
not
like 2,
seven.
3.
They're two in huge, massive font.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think
this one, Taylor.
they're trying to do some different stuff with these movies. You know, switch it up. You don't need the crawl. We still have the crawl in 2 other movies that have come out recently. Who cares? It's just the crawl.
A lot of people care.
People, I know, and I don't really get it. I just don't.
I balked Dylan on this on our Rogue One commentary track
Balked.
because I said in the next Smash, if they introduced new characters but they took out the challenger approaching, you know Dylan must would be a little salty and he would bring it up on a cast.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. Actually,
But you would be salty about it, right?
I
There's
don't
no
think I
reason.
would be.
You
No.
oh you would. Come on now. You would. We know.
Oh my god.
What?
You're saying that just to, I feel like, just to assure yourself, like, no, Dylan will be salty.
No,
and
why?
here's
Because in Rogue One, he's like, yeah, I probably would be, but now he's like, no, I wouldn't be salty, but he would be.
No,
He
I-
would
My
be.
reason
I
being-
Dylan's side on
reason
this. I
being-
don't think he would be.
The reason being because back in the day, when you unlocked characters in Smash, you didn't know who was in the game, so it was actually like exciting. Whereas nowadays, I already know everyone who's in the game, so like I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's not exciting, I guess.
I agree with Dylan. I don't
Okay,
think he'd be
I agree
that
with you.
salty if it didn't say challenge.
Alright. I got
I'm
recorded
neutral.
proof.
The last thing that we haven't talked about is I forget his name, Dryden.
Boss.
Fantastic.
Dryden
For the
Boss.
screen time he was in.
Also known as Vision.
Yeah, I really
got a
like
quick
that he.
question. Was his face like changing color?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
as he got more angry.
Okay.
But there's no backstory to it.
Rage boner.
It was a
Rage
complete
boner.
rage boner.
He just
I-
had scars.
Yeah,
that
I thought he did a
got
really good
very
job of
inflamed.
Yeah.
being very intimidating and also kind of creepy at the same time. Like the way he'd like move around the room and just like sit down. Like he
Yeah.
definitely had
He had a
a
presence.
distinct style to him, and
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. And I really liked the
Like
face
his
as well.
little
I
knives.
love
Yeah.
the shoulder cape.
Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Shoulder capes need to come back.
They're coming back.
And I love how we're gonna do it. I
I'm gonna
love
start
how
wearing them.
creepy friend he was to everybody. He'd just always be touching and like, oh, I really like Beck. I really like. I knew you would do it, even though they've seen me before. He's like, no, I don't have faith in you guys at all. He felt very much like a Bond villain, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Honestly, he couldn't be in this movie more. It wouldn't have fit. But Paul Bettany knocked it out of the park, and that was like.
Yeah.
And just the way he was just like he kills a guy and he's like it's a party we should be having fun. He takes
Well,
his
that's
drink, he walks
just
in,
it,
like damn.
His
man, it's
intro
good.
was fantastic. Like, oh, he's with the governor, and it's just him getting shanked.
Yeah.
It's like this guy sets the tone.
Yeah, we should be out there partying.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I
that was
love
incredible.
the start of the scene when Han and Chewie enter, and he like is very nice and cordial when
Yeah,
he's
he's
talking
like
to them.
shaking his hand.
Yeah, very kind. But then like by the end of that scene, he's like kind of like threatening to kill them, and it's
Oh.
just like a really well done transition.
And not even in like a cheesy bad guy way. And they're like, we don't really have any ideas. He's like, well, I guess you're gonna be no use to me. And he's kind of like motioning the
Uh-huh.
guards, like, let's just kill him right now and get through this. And they're like, oh, we got something. He's like, well, I hope you have something, because like if you don't, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to dispatch you. Like it was like
He's a good like simple villain, but it works because they're consistent with having like a cool, unique look, and like the weapons that's unique to Star Wars as
Yeah.
far as I'm aware. And then also just having that like solid like charisma to him as
Mhm.
well, and
Yeah.
and just like the backstory of like going to this place. In general, it's already a place that they're like is of high praise, I guess. And you walk in and there's like all the people partying out in the front.
and I
row.
love that cafe scene too. I love the girl with the gold and that I
Star
also-
Wars always does that stuff so well.
Yeah, I really liked. See, well, no, they don't.
I shouldn't say always. You're right.
No, well, not
That was a
counting,
big
not
blunder on
counting
my part.
prequels, but remember Last Jedi, that fucking Planet Finn and Rose were on, and the casino
Canto
place.
Bites.
Yeah, Canto. Oh god. But like that to me felt real and like almost gritty. The place like this felt like a bunch of gross rich people hanging out. Where in Last Jedi it was like these guys are so rich and they're so over the top, but this felt I like
because
it
it had
like
that
this little
really
top.
weird element too. Because the girl was singing it right next to her was like this weird like brain.
Remember
thing.
Futurama?
That is-
Yeah, exactly.
Futurama.
Like Futurama.
Yeah.
Just chilling.
He's gonna get him
Nixon's in there.
Solo film.
He's gonna get a solo film next. Just wait.
Mhm.
Lucy Liu.
Yeah.
I think that's all I had to say on this movie, mostly.
I really liked because in the original trilogy, pretty much everyone calls him Han. I always call him Han, and I like that Lando's like
Han.
Han, and he's like it's Han. He's like I'm gonna stick with Han because in the OG trilogy when they meet, he's like Han, and like no one else is calling him Han in the entire movie, and it really sticks out. But it's like they retcon this like little thing, and I like that. So
Also, he Lando corrects the pronunciation of Sabak or Sabak, and then he corrects the pronunciation of Han. I thought that was a little nice little quipper.
and the other
Nice.
Easter egg, I don't know what armor Taylor
It
was
was
Beckett.
Mandalorian armor.
Mandalorian.
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
see, he didn't let me
no.
finish. Yeah,
Midichlorian
fuck
armor.
you.
Wait,
No,
who-
yeah.
what?
of Lando's armor.
In Beckett, when they go to the Castle Run, which we quickly should talk about the Castle Run. When they go with well, it's a huge thing. When they go to the Castle Run, or when they go to Castle, and he has the same armor that Lando has in Return of the Jedi when he's in disguise in
Yeah.
Jabba's palace, Beckett was wearing that. So it's just something to keep on the Millennium Falcon, which was cool. And the Castle Run, I liked
yeah.
the scene. Obviously, to me, that was something that's never going to match your imagination because they talk about it in every movie, and that's Han Solo's big thing. But I thought it was a cool thing. The only thing I didn't like is that he did the Castle Run in 12 Parsecs because they gave the ship a little boost, where I always thought it was because Han was a great pilot and he either did it really quick or found a path, but really it's because no L3 gave him a path and he got some like juice,
Yeah.
and I don't like that. I wish he would have found a way without L3's map and be like, hey, how are we gonna get through this? And he would have been like, I'll find a way, and they would be like, oh yeah, Han Solo did the Castle Run without no navigation, like that's how he did it, but they kind of gave him some like, I don't know, some loot boxes, and I didn't like that, and that kind of
boxes.
oh yeah, it's
I
just
can
like
dig it.
I thought he did it.
Totally.
I always imagined that he did it by himself because he's a great pilot. Where now it's like, oh, he had a little help. He still did it, and because he still flew through all that, so he's still
He went
a great
sideways.
pilot. Yeah, but like it
To be
didn't.
They set
fair,
that up.
L3 didn't get uploaded until I think it was right around the time of the monster encounter.
He
and
still
that
did it with her though.
She wasn't programmed into the computer yet. He did all that navigating right to the mall and found that path through. And it wasn't until she got programmed in that they found the way to hyperspace out of there.
Yeah, but still,
the
he should
thing
do
is-
that by himself.
Going to the mall was a bad thing until the L3 was uploaded. Going to the mall would have got them all killed unless, like... if
Well, they're
the mall-
gonna die anyways, right? Because of the.
Yeah, so he didn't really change anything himself, really. So
No, but I mean, it fits with his character too because he's a smuggler and he's gonna boast and brag about it too.
Boast and brag.
Yeah, I guess, but,
But it
I
also
still
goes
want him to
to-
do something.
there needs to be some weight behind him being the
Yeah.
best pilot in the galaxy.
Well, he did
This
that
is true.
stunt with Chewie though, where he drifted. He's like, "Yeah, no, the guy that did this, he's dead." I thought that was actually pretty funny. So, and he was dodging those TIE fighters, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. So,
It was pretty good.
Best pilot in the
He's
galaxy.
got skills.
skills.
I mean,
I
that
wanna be the best
one
pilot
TIE
in
fighter
galaxy.
pilot who managed to keep up with him till like the very end.
Yeah.
Hell of a
That
pilot,
was pretty
but
impressive.
terrible shot.
What?
You know, it's like how is he like the one because all the TIE fighters like crash into asteroids and stuff really
Classic
quickly.
TIE fighters. Yeah.
But then there's the one at the very end, and it's like that guy's a hell of a pilot, but he can't hit his laser shots
No,
for shit.
they never
And it's
can.
Like, how do you
No
how do you
stormtrooper
get how do
is
you
fully
be such a
trained.
good pilot?
Also, I never want a fucking
Can't see
Millennium.
through the helmets.
That was a great one.
I never ever want a Millennium Falcon canon joke anymore. They did it in Force Awakens when Finn sits in there and he's like, "Whoa, how do you do this?" And Becca
Yeah,
was
they
the same
keep
thing
doing
of like, "Oh, like I don't know how to do this." It's like I get it, the thing's a fucking rolly ball, but guess what?
It's a fucking rolling ball.
You did the
I
joke
get
already.
it.
You
And his
can't
thumbs,
do it.
man.
Like
It hurts your thumbs. Trigger
This
those.
is true.
Two thumbs.
I miss Luke, who just sat in the chair like a fucking champ and shot people.
Just
you
do
know?
it, Luke.
Don't get cocky.
Yeah, but Luke has
First
the
rule.
Force. It's not fair.
Yeah, the force.
Beckett
is
doesn't
OP.
have the Force. Anything else on this movie?
I got all my Easter eggs if you guys want.
Drop
quick.
Drop them.
Okay, so
Are these
As
all
quick
from
as-
you or from the internet?
Drop it
As-
Like no discussion, just say the Easter egg and then move on to the next
As
one.
quick as Beckett
Okay.
dropped his voice.
Chewbacca ripping off the arms
Yeah.
of the character
Yeah.
elevator,
Okay.
I thought it was a great nod.
I was happy about that because they cut that in Force Awakens. So
Great.
Well, yeah, you're right with Uncle Plug.
yeah,
You're
I don't
right,
know
you're right.
why.
Uncle Plug?
Uncle Plug.
Okay.
Uncle Plug is my second cousin. Toy Story.
Yikes.
I have
Shout
one.
out, go watch
I have
horrible
one that you
name
maybe
for your
didn't
uncle.
mention.
Go watch Wedding Crashers.
What
Much
was
better
that?
movie than this.
Just do your things. I'll mention after if it's not there.
Okay, the move that Beckett does on Chewbacca, I think that was the same move that R2-D2 was doing to Chewbacca in the game.
And the way he ties his shoes. Yeah. That's fucking shit.
What?
Okay, well, Beckett was teaching Chewbacca how to play that game on the hologram game on the
Oh
tabletop,
yeah, whatever.
which I think is awesome. When Han Solo is looking at the recruiting station, you can hear the Imperial March playing, but it's like a light, upbeat version
Didn't
of it.
like that. Hated
I thought
that.
it was really funny.
Too Deadpool-y.
Really?
Okay.
They're breaking the fourth wall. They're literally playing Star Wars score out of a jukebox.
Propaganda.
Nah, didn't like it.
Uh,
Too cute.
Obviously, the Han shot first reference. The
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon escape pod, I like how that was explained, obviously.
Always.
One of my favorite things is that Dryden Voss has a Sith holocron in his lounge area. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Holla, what?
It's from
Holla.
Holla,
Force Unleashed.
A Sith
I imagine in
holocron.
other places, but they're very big in Force Unleashed. They're like Sith artifacts that give you Sith powers or something. I don't know.
They have like, it's like, yeah, like the equivalent to Jedi
Obviously.
holocrons, like just knowledge and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
It's the
clearly.
equivalent to Jedi
And it
holocron.
totally...
I still don't know what holocron is. Holocron is not Sith.
It's like if you collected rocks and you die and you're like, Dylan's rocks are really important. We should track them all down.
Yeah, they're like data
Like
cubes,
the
so they
Infinity Stones.
contain
Yeah.
data from like the birth of like Sith and Jedi and like
Yeah.
all that like ancient Old
Ah.
Republic stuff. They're like
They're
artifacts
really
from that
important
era.
fortune cookies.
And it makes
Yeah.
sense too because
I'm even more
with Darth
confused
Maul,
than before.
Darth Maul, at least in the animated series, he was so obsessed with getting like his hand on Sith
Oh,
holocrons.
he's always getting his hands on.
Well, he has no legs, so he can't get those on anything. So.
Ew.
Apparently, from what I read online now, there
Okay,
are
Dylan-
references to.
What did I
Dylan
do?
said, "Were these all you?" And now you're talking about.
No, this
Paranormal
I
Light.
confirm. This was all me. Now, on top of that, something I did look up online.
No, this isn't all
something else.
you.
can't-
You're trumping us.
Okay, he gave the disclaimer. Just let him do his
disclaimer,
thing.
You did at the beginning though.
What are you talking about?
When you Dylan Fuller asked, you could be like, "Oh, but I have a couple from online." But now you.
Well, I was just talking about what was mine though,
Okay.
and now I got to point
Now,
something
okay,
else.
what isn't yours?
Well, apparently they can also say in that lounge area there is a crystal skull, which is a throwback to Kingdom of the Crystal
God.
Skull.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and I'm gonna when I
That's-
see it tomorrow. I just want to see if that is
That's
true.
what they're gonna do a throwback to, the fucking shittiest movie in the series.
That's a big fourth wall.
Shia
that you just
LaBeouf.
broke down.
George was like, "You need a crystal
Crystal
skull."
skull. So
Did you
He
see
does
it?
sound
'Cause it
like
was
that.
huge.
I didn't see
Oh,
it. Did you
okay.
see it?
Yeah, it was huge. I
Really?
didn't. I was looking at it. I'm like, this must be a reference to something. It doesn't look like anything from the Indiana Jones movie though.
Okay.
It's just a normal head, not like a.
That's all I. That's all I
cylinder.
have.
George
Cool.
did write
So,
crystal
One thing you missed there is that when they
Shoot
first
time.
introduced they first shot Chewie's pit there underneath the ground at the
Don't talk
caves
about
and
his
stuff. There was a droid in the corner that was just ripped in half, and Chewie hates droids.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah,
That-
fair enough.
That was the thing. I
Didn't
got
he
one.
kill like
and he
anything
didn't.
that went in there though?
Yeah, but it's like an ongoing joke.
But this
in the
time,
movie.
it was
In the original trilogy, it's an ongoing joke that Chewie hates droids.
Really?
And there's a droid just ripped in half.
Oh, I
Chewie's
never-
super
I
racist
actually never
against
got
droids.
that. Really? That's
Mhm.
that's good to know. That's interesting.
Chewie hates droids and he kills one. And
Until he learns to
Chewie
love
does
super
hate droids.
he does. Doesn't like them.
Nothing like
That's
Mr.
yeah,
Lando.
that was my one.
Londo.
Lando.
The droid looked like K2SO actually a little bit
I
too.
wish.
Maybe it was.
I,
Did he die in Rogue One?
This is
Maybe I think so.
You
Maybe.
you literally just
What
watched
do you
this
mean
movie a
he
week
transferred
ago.
his
What happened?
programming into
He
the
gets
system?
shot to death.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Easy answer. All right.
These things happen.
Do we have anything else to add on Solo, a Star Wars movie?
Anything, Kirkland?
I just want to say that.
I did not
Han Solo.
with that Wookiee.
Oh
He made me touch his pits.
No, I just going into this. Guess I didn't really realize that this was like
A movie.
canon.
What do you think it was?
Honestly, like how you're saying, I didn't even know this movie was coming out. I just kind of
Okay.
forgot about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I didn't really care about this movie. Han Solo is such a major key character in the
Not anymore,
in the
either.
original trilogy, and
Yeah.
I feel like he has one of the most important backstories, and this just did not do
This
it
is
justice whatsoever. So
Should call you Solo.
when you're thinking about like the original trilogy and
Are
this,
you going into your
huge-
final rating?
huge disappointment.
Okay.
Huge disappointment. Transition to my final rating. I'm gonna give this movie
That's smooth like
a. 5.7.
Whoa!
Wow.
Out of 10.
So
That's
is
a good
this Rogue One? Is this your least favorite Star Wars movie?
It's funny because the more we're talking about it, I've only seen Rogue One once, so it's hard to compare the two.
You only
I mean, I've only
It's
seen
in the
Solo
title,
once.
Rogue One. The only one.
You don't need to though, because people look at it with rainbow tinted glasses. They're like, "Oh, Rogue One wasn't that bad," but so
No.
when you really watch it,
Rainbow tinted.
So yeah, I'm going.
Those are great. Usually it's rose tinted glasses.
No.
but rainbow is.
Not where I come
rainbow
from.
sounds like
Interesting switch. better.
I like it.
what?
Oh,
Sure.
no.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
thinking about it now, I think I do like Rogue One more.
Mhm.
Whoa!
Uh,
this is changing.
Yeah, a lot of the conversation definitely swayed my decision.
Swayed.
I'm not gonna go into why I like that one more, but that's my rating.
Keep the fans waiting.
Yeah.
And Dylan asked you this your least favorite Star Wars movie. I think there's a few others that.
No, it's not my least favorite
Yeah.
Star Wars.
You always forget about
Prequels.
the prequels, you know.
Well, some people like the prequel. You know.
My least favorite
Some
Star Wars
people like
movie is Revenge of the Sith.
That's
your least favorite?
That's my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my third favorite.
Yeah.
That's a decent conversation.
Which
to have,
one is
'cause
that?
That's the last one. I feel like that's the best.
Like
of
the last
prequel.
prequel or the last?
Yeah, last prequel.
Yeah.
So when he goes and kills all those kids and like just turns on them behind.
Oh, I haven't
That's
seen it
your
yet.
go-to.
That is.
Wow, we're gonna discuss that on
Yeah.
the news. Cheap plug.
On the
I'm gonna
news.
bring that up.
It's my favorite.
You know what?
As General Grievous.
You know what? I'll go because I don't have much to say. Rogue One. When you look back, I like this more than Rogue One. I think I gave it like an 8. It's like a solid 6.
You gave
now.
Rogue One an 8. What the hell's wrong with you?
I think I gave an 8 more, and like it's a still. I don't know. This is what was wrong with me, and I still think it's with this movie when we talk about like we can't ding it for bad acting and like bad shots, even the score, which I didn't talk about. I like the score. There's some stuff that I have to hear again, but they always just fine tune these things. I think that was the thing with Rogue One. I was like, oh, they still like made a really solid, just like a film by itself. You know, like it looks great, it sounds great, it's acted well.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've watched it, there's times where I like it a bit more, but it's easily a 6 now, and I'm retroactively doing that because I'm giving this a 6.5. I don't know. Star Wars.
What
to
gives
me-
it that 0.5 edge over Rogue One?
Lando?
Wow.
Honestly, that's just it. It's because in Rogue One, there's not a certain character. There's certain things I like about and action scenes. You got the bear scene, but Lando to me was a standout. To me, I don't expect every Star Wars movie to be the Empire. I don't expect it to be Force Awakens, but I expect to feel the Star Wars magic, and that was the best thing about Force Awakens. I felt that. And Last Jedi had those problems. I felt that. Rogue One, I kind of did, but there was just so many problems. It was so dull and boring, and the characters were so mad. I didn't really feel that. I didn't really feel the Star Wars magic at this. I alluded to at the beginning. I'm starting to get worried about Star Wars. For me, I've always said Marvel and DC Comics are number 1 as far as my fanboy passion. Wrestling number 2 and Star Wars was number 3. It's still that way. I got the original movies. This doesn't ruin my childhood or anything. I just don't think about what young Han Solo did, because it's not that entertaining. And it's just, I think Episode 9 will be good because JJ's coming back. Save us, JJ. But the next one, if you follow what I did in my DC timeline, Episode 9 is their Wonder Woman. Okay, they'll knock that out of the park. It'll be a nice little breather. But then after that's Justice League. And whether it's Obi-Wan, whether it's Boba Fett, they need to make me walk out of a Star Wars movie being like, damn, that was great. They need to make me, when we do our Golden Geeks at the end of the year, think, oh, I'd nominate here, here, here. I got one category that I'd put this in. This movie is forgettable. A Star Wars movie shouldn't be forgettable. And yeah, maybe I want this over awful prequels, so I guess there is worse because I don't want, Hayden Christensen and Little Annie and all this stuff. So it can get worse. I know that. It's not in the DC thing, but I do compare it as like, I feel like there's a tide turning for my just personal fandom of like, now I'm getting less excited for Star Wars and it shouldn't be like that. So just thank God JJ's coming back. I really need Force Awakens. Even Last Jedi, which I like, I really need Episode 9 to be great, because I still think Force Awakens is great. I still think that's a top 3 Star Wars movie. I need Episode 9 because Episode 9 is not even good.
Return of the JJ.
They should just call it that. I'm really wavering, but I have a lot of faith in JJ. So I don't know. I don't want Star Wars movies to be safe. I want something else. I don't want this formula stuff. So I'm pretty down out. So 6.5 out of 10.
Plain 6.5.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next. This is the 3rd Star Wars movie in a row that I'm pretty disappointed in, and even Force Awakens, each time I watch it, I kind of like it a little bit less. So, I'm already traditionally not like a big Star Wars fan, really. So, I don't know. I wasn't really surprised by the result of this movie, but I don't know. This one feels weird for me because I do feel like it's unfinished. I feel like there's more that's supposed to be going on with these characters and these storylines. So, I don't know. Rating would be hard for me because I feel like there needs to be more before I can like fully say what I feel about this movie. But yeah, as for right now, it was just kind of boring. Like for all the reasons we talked about earlier, you know, we already talked about it. I'm not gonna talk about it again. But this movie is just really leaves me unmotivated. You know, I just can't be passionate about any particular thing in this movie for myself. So I don't know. I'm not really sad. I'm kind of just looking forward to the next movie at this point. Let's move on.
Optimistic.
Yeah.
I like it.
I got 2 movies I'm so worried about. Incredibles 2 and Jurassic World.
Oh man.
Good article.
We're
The
so
rest of
fucked.
December.
We're so fucked.
Let's just
Incredibles gonna
get
disappoint
E3.
you all.
Let's just get E3
Yeah,
and have
E3.
some fun with E3.
E3.
Enough of these fucking movies. You know, Tomb
I
Raider,
want more
Rampage. It's been a
YouTubers.
shitty
I
year.
want more YouTubers in this E3. That'll make my day.
I'm not gonna go super into it, as Dylan didn't, but this is a very shallow 5.
Shallow.
Just a shallow 5. It's one of those ones where there's just so much things that they touch on, and you're just like, this is great, I'm gonna dive into this pool, but then you just break your neck.
Okay, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think this movie paralyzed me.
Maybe it doesn't paralyze you, but like maybe you have trouble
I
walking.
think you could say you stubbed a toe or like
yeah,
pulled a joint.
and
but
every time you look at a
man.
pool now, you're just like,
You can't trust
Yeah,
it.
I
you
love
can't trust
that analogy.
and
I'm
it's
stealing that
perfect for
big
you
time.
because now every time you look at a Star Wars film, you're just like, maybe it's not great, you know? You're gonna be a little cautious. Maybe you put your feet in first this time. You know, head first, not always a good
I
idea.
don't know, the water might be pouring.
And I think for this one, the biggest thing for me
Jump
was
to me.
the biggest
Just
thing
a pool full
for
of
me,
money.
I think, the film was just like it's so bland. Not a lot really happened. I mean, some things happened obviously, and as a like the baseline of it isn't awful, but they just opened up so many different pathways that they didn't go down, and I think I disagree with you saying that like it's hard to fully kind of do a full rating on this one because of how many paths it opened up and made available. I think for that to be like reasonable, you need to be excited for those paths. I'm not even after this movie. I'm not even like it'd be cool to see a mall film or some more Lando and stuff, but I'm not even super excited to. Maybe Lando's the exception actually, but I'm not even super excited to see if they do kind of decide to keep going with these characters
I
with
would not
these
want a
paths
Solo
that they
2.
opened up. So especially on Solo 2, but
We're
even
here in 4 years reviewing
even
Solo 2, I'm
Kira,
gonna be pissed
even
off.
Maul, like even Kira or Maul just on their own, it's not like super excited as I have been in the past. So you know, you really broke my neck with this one.
You really broke my neck.
So
Oh,
it's just it's just a vibe. It wasn't bad enough to fail it, but
But it's damn near close.
you know,
It's living on a prayer right now.
Yeah.
It's living on a prayer.
Yep, that's me. Taylor, take it away. Finish us off.
Finish it.
This movie.
Finish us off, Taylor.
Yikes.
Whose boat was it?
Oh, you know, this movie had so many times where you killed Travis again. This movie had so many instances where I caught myself smiling and I really enjoyed it. Why are you laughing, Travis? At this? Oh god. Like
I just imagine you do your side.
I'm smiling. I just imagine you like have a mirror in front of you and you like look down. Oh shit, I'm smiling.
Oh,
like
This movie's great.
smiling again.
from like
Yes, you are, Taylor.
the action scenes to moments like where Chewie walks in the shower with Han Solo. Like this.
That
there were-
was good. I
there-
appreciate it.
There were
So good I forgot about
I
it.
forgot about it too.
there were so many nice little things thrown in there that just I really appreciate what they were going for, and I was smiling. So
You really tried.
I
Really
mean,
aim for
one
everything.
one would think they weren't going to break our necks, you know.
this movie had so much that I understood from a point of view that
Jedi are evil.
Jedi are evil. You know, like I've watched the animated series. So much of this, you know, is surrounding and evolving around that time period. I feel like that they set up for, and it just. For me, I really appreciate what they did. I appreciated these characters. It delivered a lot of things that I wasn't expecting, and having no real sense of what was going to happen or where the story was going to go, it really pulled me in, and I was so happy to feel immersed in Star Wars again. And I all these Star Wars movies I get, at the end of the day, I can say what I want about them, but I look at these movies from a story point of view way more than a character, way more than anything like that. You know, from the way, like, I look at
That's
the
a
story...
topic for another day. But,
Yeah.
I look at the story different from the plot, the way, like, oh, maybe there's loose ends or whatever. I follow the story with these characters.
Oh, man.
I follow the
Boy,
story...
You're fueling me up to...
Okay, I'll wrap it up.
I know.
You're supposed to finish us off!
Drawing it out.
Winning round 2. Get me a glass of water.
I follow these stories, and I love it. I love it with, you know, so much passion and heart. Just
That's what I feel like you just blindly follow these, you know?
No, because, you know, at the end of the day, I feel satisfied. Like, I'm getting my dose of Star Wars, and I love
That's
it.
what I mean.
I love being immersed in this universe. and
Stockholm Syndrome.
They don't disappoint me, I feel like, you know? And granted, that being said, I'm not blindly going to dismiss the fact that this movie had issues. I wish it was shorter. I wish they fixed a lot of things. And that's why it's not a straight 10 out of 10. That's why it's number 4 on my list.
It's a narrow 10.
Number 4.
It's number 4.
You're right. Yay.
So it bounces back and forth between Last Jedi. But you know what? That being said, depending on what we get in the future,
So
that
wait
can
a
bump
second.
out.
So you like this better than Force Awakens?
Yes.
Oh, you fucking...
I feel like I want to vomit right now.
Force
Later,
Awakens
nerds.
got bumped out a long time ago after Rogue One and Last Jedi. Let me just put it there. Because Empire and Revenge of the Sith were always there for me. Rogue One, obviously, and then it just got bumped out. So, anyways, so I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I feel like it
That
has...
makes no sense.
What the fuck,
Taylor? You gave Force Awakens a fucking 9.5.
And that's my number 1 still. Or no, not Force Awakens. Rogue One is my number 1
No, you
still.
gave Rogue One a 10. You gave Force Awakens a 9.5. You gave it a whole 2 points higher than Han Solo.
Yes, but we're not. I'm not rating all of these movies right now out of 10 or whatever.
You gave Suicide Squad a 10.
Don't bring up Suicide Squad. That's out of here. That's how I feel. I feel like, you know, go see this movie on a cheap Tuesday at least.
Cheap
you know?
Tuesday.
You don't need to see this movie. You know what?
I
Kevin
can't believe you,
Feige.
Taylor.
Kevin Feige, you need to jump ship
Kevin
and
Fiji.
you need to help out some people. Taylor, where can they find us? Let's get the fuck
They
out
can
of here.
find us in the search bar, GeekVerse Podcast on Facebook. Lots of good
Depressing.
content.
Thank you very much for tuning
Wow.
in. If you like what we do here, head over to Patreon. Support us at the $1 level, $5 level. We get stuff early. We did a Rogue One commentary track. You could have got that earlier. Gauntlet matches, sports title. The team tourney is continuing soon. Please, if you don't want to do that, like, subscribe, review. That helps us out. That helps us get out there. Thank you very much for tuning in. May the Force be with you. And we'll see you next week for the last newscast before E3. And I promise you it will not be boring. We never even found out what the fucking gold dice was. Like, why are they so important to Han?
Why do you want to know about the gold dice?
Because it's
Oh,
the last
that's
thing
the
Leia. It's the last thing Leia gets before she fucking dies. It's just like no, he just bought this in the
I think it
thrift
was to
shop.
prove that Han Solo, instead of earning his skills as a pilot, he just gets really fucking lucky
Yeah.
all the time.
There's no such thing as
Like,
luck.
you know, when he's been through the asteroid field, you can't see anything. That's almost complete luck.